Chapter 285. The horrifying wall of water suddenly spun rapidly, forming a huge roaring water dragon. At this moment, the might of Yumingshan's state of water was raised to the limit. In an instant, it scattered Xiao Chen's state of thunder. The dark clouds in the sky scattered and sunlight shone down once again, shining on Yumingshan's sinister face. He revealed an extremely cruel smile. The dragon moved its head, moving faster than the speed of sound. It merged with the sound of the wind and left a formless shockwave in the air. Before it got close to Xiao Chen, the huge shockwave knocked Xiao Chen back. Bang! With a schwa sound, the water dragon caught up to Xiao Chen, who was tumbling on the water. It crashed into him and the huge force formed a huge whirlpool on the water. There was a loud boom and Xiao Chen's body sank to the bottom of the water. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The Black Dragon River had surging waves. The merchant ship bobbed up and down for a long time before it slowly came to a stop. It's over, the state of thunder has scattered. Yi Chen faced Yumingshan's full-powered strike head-on. Even if he doesn't die, he will be severely injured. The most important thing is that he is currently above the water. The might of the water dragon burst will be greatly amplified. It is equivalent to the strength of a medial-grade martial saint. How unfortunate, Qingyun Peak finally produced a genius. Before he could rise up, he was killed by Yumingshan. The older the ginger, the spicier. Who knows, why did Yumingshan want to kill Yi Chen? They do not seem to have any grudges. The many cultivators on the deck shook their heads and sighed. They felt that it was a pity. They thought that Xiao Chen had no chance of surviving this time. The sunlight shone on the clear water. The calm Black Dragon River was sparkling, it was very beautiful. Yumingshan stood on the water and extended his perception, scanning the situation under the water. However, after looking for a long time, he could not feel Xiao Chen's aura. Looks like he died immediately. His body was blown up by the water dragon and died without a complete corpse. This is difficult, I wonder how to explain this to Song Quebec. Yumingshan frowned slightly and shook his head. He turned around and prepared to leave. Just at this moment, layers of dark clouds suddenly swept over from the bright and beautiful sky. In the blink of an eye, the sky suddenly became dark and gloomy, and endless thunder sounded once again. Yumingshan stopped in his tracks. His expression changed greatly as he said, "How did it become like this?" Bang! There was a splash on the surface of the water. Xiao Chen leaped out unscathed. The saber in his hand flickered with an electric light. It emitted killing chi as it pointed at Yumingshan. Yumingshan said in disbelief, "Why? My peak attack did not injure you at all." It was just a secret treasure, Xiao Chen smiled faintly in his heart. Of course, he would not tell Yumingshan about it, he would just let him guess. Yumingshan's sharp eyes noticed the jade pendant on Xiao Chen's chest. He suddenly understood and said, "So, it is a secret treasure. However, this kind of secret treasure has a limited number of uses. Since your speed is not as fast as mine, I will not lose." Xiao Chen sneered, "Is that so? Windwalk shoes, activate." The instant the windwalk shoes activated, Xiao Chen's figure flashed on the surface of the water. There was no sound at all as he arrived before Yumingshan at lightning speed. A purple saber light flashed and thunder roared in the sky. Xiao Chen's state and move merged perfectly, startling Yumingshan. In a hurry, Yumingshan held his saber horizontally in front of him. However, because he was caught off guard, he was knocked back 5 or 6 meters. What a fast speed! How did he break through the speed of sound in an instant? His speed is comparable to mine. Yumingshan stepped on the water, creating splashes. He finally stopped moving back. However, he was astonished in his heart. Wukue shakes the earth. After spending so much effort, Xiao Chen had figured out Yumingshan's strength. It was time to counterattack. Xiao Chen shouted and a fierce electric light burned on his saber. The ancient divine Wukue tree appeared on the water surface. After a while, it turned into a tree of electric light several hundred meters tall, pressing down on Yu Mingshan. This was the fourth move of the Wukuei Saber Technique's killing move, Absolute Kill. When he made his move, he could put his opponent in a desperate situation. Yu Mingshan's expression changed again. The huge divine Wukuei tree gave him a horrifying pressure. He circulated his essence continuously and 18 water droplets exploded behind him. The water droplets gathered and formed a sharp saber. It was like a waterfall as it rushed forward. Bang! The moment they came into contact, the divine Wukuei tree shattered Yu Mingshan's waterfall saber chi. The comprehension of their states was on a completely different level. Xiao Chen's state of thunder had already reached the peak of small perfection. Every move he made could be infused into his state. As for Yu Mingshan, he had only just started. He could only use his state to increase the might of his martial techniques. Once Xiao Chen used a peak martial technique, the quality of his essence would be equal to Yu Mingshan's. His martial techniques infused with his state would no longer be sufficient. The divine Wukuei tree struck Yu Mingshan's body with a boom. It broke through his essence shield and entered his body. It turned into a berserk energy rampaging through his meridians. Yu Mingshan vomited a large mouthful of blood and suppressed the chaotic essence in his body. His complexion was somewhat pale as he said, "Damn it! Even if this old man has to risk his life, I will kill you." Double Dragon Burst. There was a ferocious roar and a horrifying wall of water appeared on the water surface. It turned into two huge water dragons and flew at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression was calm, there were not many fluctuations. If his opponent had used this move from the start, Xiao Chen would not have been able to block it. Unfortunately, his opponent was too cautious. The chi in a cultivator's heart had already disappeared. He no longer had any sharpness. He only thought about how to obtain a complete victory. He dared to suffer even the slightest injury. Now that Xiao Chen had missed this opportunity and executed this move while he was severely injured, its might would be reduced by at least half. Even if he did not have a secret treasure, there was nothing to fear. Xiao Chen shouted and a purple light started to circulate on the water surface under Xiao Chen's feet. After a while, it formed a strange flower bud, wrapping around Xiao Chen. Bang! Bang! The two water dragons struck the purple flower bud and gave off two loud sounds. Waves surged up and shockwaves spread out. A barrier of water dozens of meters tall appeared in the surroundings. When the barrier of water fell back and the river surface calmed down, the purple flower bud was still as good as before, there were no signs of damage. Wukuei blossoms! Xiao Chen shouted from within the flower bud. The petals suddenly bloomed, looking very beautiful. Then, Xiao Chen leaped out from the petals. Immediately, petals filled the air. Wukuei blossoms bloomed in the air. As the petals fluttered, Xiao Chen passed through the countless petals and quickly arrived before Yu Mingshan. Xiao Chen stabbed out with his saber. It was so fast that no one could think. Petals filled the air, this saber strike was very beautiful. Rumble. Yu Mingshan's body was knocked back by this saber strike. He left a long mark on the water surface as he flew for more than a kilometer. The purple flowers that filled the air quickly chased after Yu Mingshan. A whirlwind formed in the air and all the petals merged back into a strange Wukuei flower. The Wukuei flower flowed through Xiao Chen's wound and quickly entered Yu Mingshan's body. Xiao Chen did not move from his original position. He straightened his saber and used two fingers on his left hand to slowly move from the bottom of the saber to the tip. He shouted softly, "Wukuei supporting the heavens." A Wukuei tree trunk grew out of Yu Mingshan's chest from nowhere as he struggled to stand. As Xiao Chen's fingers moved, the tree trunk grew larger and larger. It grew at a visible rate. After a while, countless branches sprouted from the tree trunk. Then, countless branches branched out from the branches. Many purple Wukuei flowers bloomed. In just a few blinks of an eye, the tree trunk in front of Yu Mingshan's chest had turned into a towering tree. It was more than 200 meters tall and had many branches. Flowers bloomed everywhere. This was the true profoundness of Wukue blossoms. It infused energy into the enemy's body. Initially, it did not have much power. However, the next move, Wukue supporting the heavens, would erupt. Even if you were a martial king, you would lose all your combat prowess under this move. On the water surface, Yu Mingshan looked at the tree in front of his chest in horror. He felt that all the roots of the tree had already penetrated into his body, firmly grabbing onto his internal organs. His internal organs were all injured. He would not be able to recover without at least a year's time. Furthermore, Yu Mingshan felt an indescribable pain all over his body. Boundless electricity tormented him every second. However, this Wukue supporting the heavens exhausted a lot of essence. Xiao Qin could not maintain it for too long. When the Wukue tree completely disappeared, Yu Mingshan was already half dead. His pale face was filled with pain as he watched Xiao Qin slowly walk over. Yu Mingshan was so frightened that he turned pale. He pushed off the water surface and his body flew up unsteadily. Xiao Qin looked at the miserable Yu Mingshan in the air and smiled faintly. He took out the Soul Slayer bow from the universe ring and did not knock an arrow. Instead, he pulled the bowstring. Bang! The bowstring sounded out and Yu Mingshan's body fell into the water with a bang, sinking completely into the water. The great Yu Mingshan was actually killed by a youth until he was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bow. How regretful! Someone on the deck sighed softly. First, he killed the evil beast. Then, he defeated a martial king. This Qingyun Pixi Chen is really horrifying. I originally thought that he would need some time to rise up. It looks like he has already risen up. The experts of the older generation are no longer able to do anything to him. Indeed, he is probably on par with Murong Chong. Only these geniuses are able to fight someone of a higher cultivation realm. The Nanling province has Ji Chongkong and Mu Chengxue. The Dongming province has Hua Yunkong, Duanmuking, and the strong Chu Chaoyun. Our Shiha province finally has another person who can compare to these geniuses. These are all top-notch geniuses. In any previous generation, their accomplishments would be limitless. However, so many of them appeared in one go. In the future, there will definitely be a fierce battle. Don't forget about the experts of the royal courts. The people of the royal court are all geniuses. Furthermore, there is the demonic genius Princess Yingyu. If we count them all, there are too many geniuses in the younger generation of our great Qin nation. With so many geniuses, I wonder who will obtain the greatest luck in the end. It looks like it will be Princess Yingyu from the royal court. She suppressed everyone with her strength. I wonder what will happen in the future. We cannot forget about Princess Yingyu. Her lifespan is limited. She will lose her luck sooner or later. Chapter 286. I remember that there was once a person in the Dongming province who defeated many geniuses of the Dongming province. He even spent a large sum of money to challenge the noble clans. With such boldness, he must be an extraordinary genius. That's right. Now, the noble clans have doubled the bounty for this person. Together, the bounty is 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones. However, this person seems to have vanished without a trace, never appearing again. When the people on the deck saw Xiao Qin beat up Yu Mingshan, they all sighed. This battle was full of twists and turns. It was very thrilling and exciting. It was very satisfying to watch. Xiao Qin was always able to surprise everyone. When everyone thought that he was in a hopeless situation, he would turn the situation around and defeat his opponent. The dark clouds above the water scattered and the sunlight shone down once again. Xiao Qin stood on the water and his spiritual sense pierced through the water like an arrow, searching for Yu Mingshan's figure. There were strange fish in the river. With Yu Mingshan's current condition, he might not be able to block these man-eating fish. Xiao Qin did not want Yu Mingshan to die just like that. The reason why Xiao Qin did not knock an arrow earlier was because he was afraid of shooting Yu Mingshan to death. After that, he would not be able to get anything out of him. At the bottom of the dark water, Yu Mingshan dragged his injured body and swam quickly in the water. Strange ripples shot out in all directions, repelling the strange fish that attacked him. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "I forgot, this person is a water-attributed cultivator. His ability to survive in the river is much stronger than a regular cultivator's." Xiao Chen was not surprised at Yu Mingshan's strong desire to survive. This kind of person would think carefully before doing anything. To put it nicely, he was cautious. To put it bluntly, he was greedy for life and afraid of death. He did not have boldness. However, he did not know that the path of a cultivator was filled with danger. It was a fight with one's life in the first place. If one did not have great courage and the sharpness in one's heart did not fade, how could one overcome difficulties after difficulties? If one always thought about how to use tricks to overcome difficulties, once the sharpness faded, one would never be able to go far on the path of a cultivator. "Come out." Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and gently pushed off the surface of the river. He appeared above Yu Mingshan and punched the surface of the water. Bang! Immediately, a huge pillar of water surged out from the Black Dragon River. At the end of the pillar of water was Yu Mingshan's figure. He was knocked into the air and was frantically trying to move his body. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and grabbed him by the collar, landing firmly on the ground. Yu Mingshan revealed a horrified expression on his pale face. He said, "Don't kill me, I have 50,000 inferior grade spirit stones in my hands and 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. Let me go, they are all yours." Xiao Chen ignored him and said coldly, "Speak, who sent you to kill me?" Yu Mingshan first shook his head. Then, he felt Xiao Chen's killing intent. He immediately said, "I'll speak. I'll speak. It's Song K, Bien Peak Song Quebec. He promised me 2,000 medial grade spirit stones to kill you." Song K. A trace of killing intent flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. This was not unexpected. Xiao Chen really did not dare to let his guard down even for a moment. It was a pity that he couldn't do anything to Song K right now. He wasn't a match for Song K, and he couldn't find an opportunity to do so. In the future, when his strength increased, the first thing he had to do was to get rid of Song Quebec Boom. Xiao Chen removed the spatial ring from Yu Mingshan's hand and smashed his chest with his palm. Yu Mingshan's heart meridians shattered, and blood flowed out of all his orifices. He said in dissatisfaction, "Didn't you say you would not kill me?" Xiao Chen was expressionless as he said sullenly, "Sorry, I never said that. I am a person who does not leave behind future trouble for myself." Seeing Yu Mingshan's corpse slowly fall into the water, Xiao Chen glanced at the merchant ship not far away. After thinking for a while, he decided to cross the Black Dragon River. He did not want to take that merchant ship anymore. The main reason was that he was afraid of unnecessary socializing and wasting time. Xiao Chen's figure flashed in the air as he used the gravity spell and flew up. 3 days later, at night, on the Devil Savannah, Xiao Chen sat beside a bonfire and ate some roasted lightning beef. The meat of spirit beasts was even more fragrant and delicious than the meat of earth. There was no need for any seasoning, and it was already very delicious, leaving one with a lingering aftertaste. Furthermore, the meat of spirit beasts contained some natural spiritual energy. Eating it over a long period of time could strengthen the body and replenish qi. If one ate the meat of a higher-ranked spirit beast, such as a rank 8 or legendary rank 9 spirit beast, it could even raise one's cultivation realm. A heavy fragrance wafted through the Devil Savannah, attracting a large number of spirit beasts. However, when these spirit beasts saw Xiao Chen, they did not dare to make a move. They only looked from afar before scattering. Xiao Chen scanned the area with his spiritual sense and saw all this. He revealed a faint smile. 2 days ago, Xiao Chen used the gravity spell to fly to the Devil Savannah. After that, he started to practice his saber on the bandits and spirit beasts that he encountered. After accumulating experience in actual combat, Xiao Chen became more familiar with the first 6 moves of the Wukue saber technique. Furthermore, the newly created Rushing Thunder Triple Chain Chop also became easier to use. Xiao Chen already had good control over the period of storing energy, he could release and withdraw it as he pleased. The longer he could store his energy, the stronger it would be. The shorter the time, the weaker it would be. He needed to use it flexibly. The might of the rushing thunder roars was much stronger than Xiao Chen had imagined. Previously, when he had stored energy for a minute, he had been able to destroy it with 10,000 horses galloping. What Xiao Chen needed to do now was to raise his energy in the shortest time possible. That way, this move would become Xiao Chen's new killing move, an important trump card. Hu Qi. A snow-white figure appeared in Xiao Chen's vision in the dark night. When he looked carefully, he discovered that it was Bai. He was holding some spirit herbs in his hands as he rushed over. Just like before, when Xiao Chen and Bai were alone, Bai would help him search for rare spirit herbs. Most of these spirit grasses were refined into higher-grade blood-replenishing pills and qi-returning pills. This allowed Xiao Chen to have medicinal pills to use without spending money on spirit herbs. This was a great help to him. Bai presented the spirit herbs in his hands like he was presenting a treasure. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and counted them carefully: rank 4 blood sunflower, rank 500 jade spirit, rank 4 gentleman wind flower. Hey, this looks like a tendon refining flower. Xiao Chen noticed a white flower. That flower was very simple, it did not have any bright colors or a strong fragrance. It was very simple. Xiao Chen held it in his hands and looked at it carefully. He finally confirmed that this was the tendon refining flower. It could increase the toughness of a cultivator's meridians and repair damaged meridians. It was very precious. There were many spirit herbs that could repair meridians. However, none of them were as good as the tendon refining flower. The tendon refining flower could even repair a cultivator's meridians. This was why it was so precious. Essence had to pass through the meridians before it could circulate freely. If the meridians were damaged, the cultivator would not be able to circulate essence. If Xiao Chen could increase the toughness of the meridians to a considerable level, then he would not have to worry about forcefully using too much essence when he was cultivating or fighting in the future, causing his meridians to be damaged. Although Bai did not know the importance of the tendon refining flower, when he saw Xiao Chen's happy expression, his face revealed a joyful expression. Xiao Chen put away the tendon refining flower. Suddenly, a doubt appeared in his mind. For a rare herb like the tendon refining flower, there would definitely be a strong spirit beast guarding it. Although Bai was strong and very fast, he should not have been able to obtain the tendon refining flower so easily. Could there be something that I don't know? Xiao Chen squatted down and asked, Bai, tell me the truth. How did you obtain this tendon refining flower? When Bai heard Xiao Chen's question, he immediately lowered his head. He was like a child who had done something wrong. He did not dare to look into Xiao Chen's eyes. Could it be that he snatched it from someone else? Xiao Chen felt ashamed in his heart. If he snatched a spirit beast, Bai would not lower his head. He did not know who he snatched it from. Dong! 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 Just as Xiao Chen was thinking about whether or not he should return the tendon refining flower to someone else, the sound of hurried horse hooves could be heard. There should be a lot of people because the ground was trembling slightly. A group of more than 200 bandits appeared in front of Xiao Chen. One of them pointed at Bai and said excitedly, First leader, I did not lie to you, right? The tendon refining flower did not belong to me. It was snatched away by a little fox. Look, I was not wrong. There was indeed a little fox. Paw! The leader of the bandits was dressed in snow-white battle robes. He looked very dazzling in the dark night. He slapped the person who spoke and scolded him angrily, Fool! Why are you so excited after a spirit beast snatched something away? The other bandits all laughed loudly. Indeed, they were the most terrifying group of bandits in the Devil Savannah. They had always been robbing others and killing spirit beasts. Since when did they get snatched away by a spirit beast? This was a disgrace to bandits. The bandit on the ground felt a burning pain on his face. When he heard the laughter of the crowd, his face turned even hotter. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. Suddenly, he looked at Bai and revealed a ferocious glint in his eyes. He pounced forward and scolded, "I don't believe I cannot deal with you. Watch how I teach you a lesson." Before Xiao Chen could make a move, Bai turned around and swung his arm to the right. There was a strong wind, and the bandit that pounced over was immediately blown away. Even Lu Suifeng, an inferior-grade martial saint, was toyed around by Bai. How could a martial grandmaster bandit be a match for Bai? That bandit landed headfirst on the ground and rolled a few times. When he got up, he could not even tell his bearings. He walked towards the first leader of the bandits in a daze and scolded, "Little bastard. Don't think that just because you are on a horse, I will not recognize you." After he said that, he charged over again. The first leader was furious. He sent out a palm wind and knocked this person away. He said with a sullen face, "Just trash, I don't care about you." When Bai felt the killing intent from the first leader, he felt some danger. He immediately jumped onto Xiao Chen's shoulder and felt safer. He made a face at the bandits. What the hell? Even foxes know how to make faces these days. When the crowd saw Bai's face, they were all astonished. Since it belongs to the bandits, I will just snatch it, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Xiao Chen swept his gaze across this group of bandits. Of the 200 people, the weakest was a medial-grade martial grand master. The core of the group was 20 martial saints. The first leader, who was wearing white battle robes, had the most horrifying cultivation. He was a superior-grade martial saint. He should be weaker than Xiao Chen when he first left the mountain. As for now, he was no longer on the same level as Xiao Chen. Chapter 287. The white-robed bandit slowly rode his black warhorse to within 10 meters of Xiao Chen. He said with a sullen expression, "Regardless of whether you took my tendon refining flour or not, hand over your spatial ring. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you." Xiao Chen revealed a faint smile and said softly, "If you are capable, then come and take it yourself." Reckless. The white-robed bandit exerted strength in his legs and his warhorse charged at Xiao Chen at lightning speed. The killing chi of the white-robed bandit merged with the baleful aura of the warhorse. It was like a sharp sword charging at Xiao Chen's deity C. Unexpectedly, this white-robed bandit knew some mental attacks. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was very strong. He did not fear mental attacks of this level. "Since you want to play with mental attacks, I'll play with you." Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a cold smile. His vast spiritual sense turned into a deity holding a sharp sword. With a pu, it shattered the sharp sword flying at him and charged at the white-robed bandit. Suddenly, the white-robed bandit felt everything in front of him disappear. He found himself in a desolate land. A spiritual sense in the sky looked down at him majestically and gave off a resounding voice, "Why are you not kneeling when you see a deity?" The white-robed bandit panicked. He immediately realized that this was a mental illusion. He quickly bit the tip of his tongue and the pain brought him back to his senses. This deity was something that Xiao Chen had created casually by imitating the mark left behind by the sages in the silver warship. It did not have much use in actual combat. It could only stun enemies of the same cultivation level for an instant. However, this instant was sufficient. By the time the white-robed bandit recovered his senses, he discovered that Xiao Chen had already kicked at him from the air at some point in time. Bang! Before the shocked gazes of the bandits, the white-robed bandit could not react in time and was sent flying by the kick. While Xiao Chen was in the air, when he landed, he gently stepped on the back of the warhorse. A huge force immediately pressed the warhorse to the ground, making it unable to get up again. Clouds began to gather in the sky. Lightning streaked across the night sky, emitting resplendent light. Amidst the boundless light, Xiao Chen used the force of his kick to soar into the sky. As he flew, his aura continued to accumulate. Suddenly, a huge lightning vortex formed in the sky. The roars and gallops of a vast army came from the whirlpool. The sound was deafening, echoing for dozens of kilometers. "It's him. He's that violet lightning fiend. Run!" Someone among the bandits suddenly shouted in horror. Then, the 200-odd bandits desperately pulled on the reins and turned around. However, at this moment, the warhorses under them could not be controlled, neighing crazily. The bandits quickly abandoned their horses and fled. No matter what the white-robed bandits said, they did not stop. When the white-robed bandit saw that the situation was hopeless and that the few court-martial saints had already started to flee, he sighed heavily and turned around to flee as well. Thunder roared, 10,000 horses galloped. Shao Chen gently pointed the saber in his hand downwards. Countless knights on thunder warhorses leaped down from the whirlpool and landed on the ground. Then, they quickly chased after the scattered bandits. In the dark night, these knights flickering with electric light turned into purple shadows. They galloped around the Devil's Savannah at night, looking very dazzling. Bang! 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 Explosions rang out continuously. Without exception, the 200 bandits were all struck. The weaker bandits were blasted into smithereens by the combined attacks of the many knights, dying on the spot. Only the martial saints and above managed to survive. Their complexions turned pale and they vomited blood. They quickly fled into the distance without looking back. Shao Chen shook his head slightly. The might was still insufficient. He had gathered his aura in a hurry. He had to think of a way to quickly raise his aura to its peak. Withdrawing his gaze, Shao Chen ignored the scattered bandits. He focused his attention on the white-robed bandit that he had focused on. Under Shao Chen's control, at least 100 electric knights crashed into the white-robed bandit. Although the other party could still fight, they were no longer a threat to Shao Chen. Lightning evasion. An electric light flashed and Shao Chen landed beside the white-robed bandit. He repeated what the white-robed bandit had said earlier, "No matter what your purpose is, I only want the spatial ring in your hand. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." The white-robed bandit struggled for a while before he took off the ring and handed it to Shao Chen. He said coldly, "Don't look down on the Devil's Savannah. This is not a place where you can move unhindered." Shao Chen smiled faintly and ignored him. He had never been arrogant enough to think that he could move unhindered in the Devil's Savannah. The Devil's Savannah was vast and boundless. The entire savannah was about half the size of the Shiha province. Furthermore, this was only within the Great Qin nation. It extended beyond the borders and was even larger. It could be said that the Devil's Savannah was just the tip of the iceberg. With such a large area and countless bandit groups, Shao Chen had always been cautious. When he ran into a strong bandit group, he would immediately avoid them with his spiritual sense. He would not have any other thoughts. After all the bandits had left, Shao Chen looked in the direction of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and prepared to travel through the night. The commotion tonight was too big. He was afraid of startling some strong bandit groups. It was safer to travel through the night. In the Devil's Savannah, where the tendon refining flower grew, Murong Chong looked at the empty ground and the corpse of the spirit beast guarding it. He frowned. Hu Qi. There was a soft sound of wind behind him. Murong Chong sensed it and quickly turned around. He saw a mysterious person wearing white clothes and a white mask appear in front of him. The mysterious person in white said in a hoarse voice, "Murong Chong, you seem to have forgotten our agreement. You have entered the Devil's Savannah once again." Murong Chong said sullenly, "I am only here to search for the tendon refining flower. I have no other purpose. Aside from me, only your people know about the tendon refining flower. I am willing to pay 1 million inferior grade spirit stones to exchange for it." The mysterious person in white said, "Even if you pay 10 million, it is useless. Someone took it away yesterday." Murong Chong's expression changed. He emitted a surging killing chi. A murderous intent appeared on his stern face as he said, "Who? He is also a Qingyun Peak disciple like you." "Oh, I forgot that you are no longer a Qingyun Peak disciple," the person in white said indifferently. Murong Chong's killing chi quickly dissipated. He was very adept at releasing it. He had a pensive look on his face as he said, "Since he took it, it is all the same. I will take my leave first." "Who?" The figure of the person in white suddenly moved. It was as though he teleported and instantly appeared behind Morong Chong. Then, he sent out a palm strike. Morong Chong quickly turned around and sent out a palm strike. A huge force pushed Morong Chong back 10 steps. His complexion paled and blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. The person in white took a step back. No, the expression under the mask was somewhat astonished. He said, "This palm strike is the price for breaking the agreement." The reason why an agreement is called an agreement is because there is no reason to break it. Morong Chong looked coldly at the person in white. He did not say anything and turned around, disappearing from the vast savannah. Glittering Wukue. Xiao Chen shouted and a saber light flickered. A saber chi made of a divine Wukue tree branch flew towards a group of bandits with a shwa sound. Blood spurted out and miserable cries resounded. The dense purple saber chi was boundlessly tyrannical. Several bandits were knocked off their horses. Wukue transforms to chi. The divine Wukue tree of the ancient divine valley appeared. After a while, it turned into saber chi that filled the air. It danced around in the air and chopped a large group of bandits in half. Chi breaks Wukue. Xiao Chen shouted and the saber chi in the air gathered back on his saber. It turned into an extremely dense saber chi. The leader of the bandits could not dodge in time and the saber chi pierced through his chest. With the death of the leader, all the bandits immediately scattered, fleeing in all directions. Xiao Chen ignored them. After he took away the spatial ring of the bandit leader, he quickly left the place. Xiao Chen was not in a rush as he walked through the devil savannah. He treated this return journey as experiential training. During the day, he would kill strong spirit beasts and bandits. At night, he would use medial-grade spirit stones to raise his cultivation. When by gathered enough spirit herbs, he would refine medicinal pills. Xiao Chen's strength soared every day. However, on this morning, he suddenly felt uncomfortable in his heart. This feeling had been present for the past few days. However, it was very mild. Xiao Chen did not mind it. It was only when he got closer to the heavenly saber pavilion that this uncomfortable feeling became stronger. It was impossible to ignore. Could something have happened at the heavenly saber pavilion? Xiao Chen looked in the direction of the heavenly saber pavilion. He had a bad feeling. I have to rush at full speed. I cannot stay here any longer. Otherwise, I will not know what happened. I will feel uncomfortable in my heart, Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Xiao Chen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and turned into a purple shadow. He started to move quickly on the vast devil savannah. Along the way, he met with bandits and strong spirit beasts. However, Xiao Chen ignored them, he simply avoided them. 2 days later, Xiao Chen was already halfway through the devil savannah. He would reach the heavenly saber pavilion in another 5 days. Just as Xiao Chen was about to stop and rest, a group of bare-chested people wearing only shorts appeared in the distance in Xiao Chen's vision. Xiao Chen sat on the ground and drank a mouthful of water. He smiled faintly and said, "I wonder which group of bandits ran into Kim Fatso." Kim Fatso was different from Xiao Chen. He did not kill people, he only sought wealth. However, when he ran into Kim Fatso's bandits, he felt even worse than death. This fellow's stingy character was displayed to the extreme when he ran into the bandits. Aside from leaving the bandits with a pair of shorts, he would not leave them with anything else. This kind of humiliation was even worse than death. Only Kim Tae-ho could do such a thing. Just at this moment, a familiar voice came from the wind. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and stood up suspiciously. Why did he seem to hear Kim Tae-ho's voice? Looking up, Xiao Chen saw the faces of some people. They looked like the guards of Kim Tae-ho that he had seen in the past. Xiao Chen went over to take a look. He put away his water bottle and quickly leaped forward. After a while, he finally saw the people in front clearly. What he saw shocked him. Chapter 288. The group of people in front of him were indeed Kim Tae-ho's bodyguards. There was a total of 200 of them. All of them had their clothes stripped off, leaving only a pair of shorts to cover their private parts. There was a dilapidated carriage in the group. Xiao Chen looked at it carefully for a long time before he realized it was the luxurious golden carriage that he had been in before. However, it was now in a terrible state and was beyond recognition. The golden hood of the carriage was already gone, only a smooth wooden board was left. Under the wooden board was a pair of golden wheels. If it wasn't for these golden wheels, Xiao Chen wouldn't have dared to associate it with the golden carriage he had seen before. What made Xiao Chen even more speechless was that Kim Tae-ho was wearing a beast skin and sitting casually on the smooth carriage. Furthermore, the people pulling the carriage were actually his subordinates. Even the precious horses had been snatched away. A group of people ran quickly on the grassland, as though they were avoiding something scary. Kim Tae-ho said loudly, "Can you be faster? This fat lord is not that heavy. You are all martial grand masters." The subordinates were at a loss as they complained, "Young master, we've been running for 2 days and 2 nights. It's time for us to take a break. Or, forget about this treasured carriage. If you run with us, you'll be able to run faster." Kim Tae-ho said angrily, "This fat lord, it was not easy for me to obtain these 2 wheels. If you just throw them away like that, wouldn't all my efforts be in vain?" The manservant following behind the carriage suddenly said, "Young master, there seems to be someone staring at us over there." Fatso said angrily, "Damn it! Watch me destroy him." Never mind. Let's not bother about it. We should leave this damn place first." The manservant continued, "He seems to be walking in our direction." Fatso's expression changed. He turned his head and looked. When he discovered the person, he revealed a smile and said, "Stop the carriage." Fatso was wearing shorts and a spirit beast skin. He looked like a wild man as he quickly ran to Xiao Chen and said, "Master Xiao, it's great to see you. Don't say anything, just give this fat brother some clothes first." Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Fatso's pathetic appearance. A famous saying from his previous life appeared in his mind, "You have to pay for what you have done." Xiao Chen had a lot of spare clothes in the universe ring. However, Fatso's body was too stout. Xiao Chen could not put them on, so he could only drape them over his body. Although he was still in a sorry state, it was much better than wearing the animal skin. Kim Tae-ho tried his best to put on the pants that Xiao Chen handed him. After working hard for a long time, he finally managed to put it on. However, before he could relax, there was an explosion. His pants burst from Fatso's fats, turning them into strips of cloth. Kim Tae-ho had a helpless expression on his face. He could not be bothered with this. He could only tidy himself up a little and said to Xiao Chen embarrassedly, Can Master Xiao give me some more spirit stones?" Xiao Chen blushed with shame, "You were really robbed." Fatso shrugged and said, "Is it not obvious enough? Aside from this spatial ring and a coffin lid, I only have 2 golden wheels." The affairs of the world were unpredictable. Life was always so unexpected. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. To think that Fatso would end up like this. He could only say that the heavens had eyes. Xiao Chen took out 1,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and 10,000 gold taels and handed them to Kim Tae-ho. He said, "What exactly happened? With your strength, even if you could not defeat him, you should have been able to run." Although Fatso's strength was average, he had many good things on hand. The dazzling rings and necklaces he wore were not ordinary ornaments. They were all intact secret treasures. It could be said that if both Xiao Chen and Fatso met a peak martial king, the one who could easily retreat would be Fatso. This was because this fellow had too many trump cards. Otherwise, he would not have dared to do things so recklessly. He was very confident in his heart. If he had not met with an iron plate, he would not have ended up in such a sorry state. Xiao Chen was very curious about this iron plate. What exactly happened that caused the fearless Fatso to suffer such a huge loss? Kim Tae-ho received the spirit stones and gold taels and said, "Thank you. This fat brother will remember this favor." Don't ask about anything else. In short, do not be too ruthless in the devil's savannah. I was tricked by someone. I will not come here again. After Fatso spoke, he waved his hand. He draped an open robe over his shoulders and wore tattered pants. Then, he jumped back onto the bear carriage. Like before, he waved his hand and said, "Let's go." A few of his subordinates had conflicted expressions as they pulled the tattered carriage and slowly disappeared from Xiao Chen's vision. In the following 2 days, the uncomfortable feeling in Xiao Chen's heart became even more obvious. However, because of what happened to Fatso, Xiao Chen became more cautious. He kept his spiritual sense within a 2-kilometer radius. This slowed him down. However, there was no harm in being cautious. Xiao Chen did not want Fatso's miserable experience to happen to him. On this particular day, as Xiao Chen walked on the vast savannah, he sent out his spiritual sense. He discovered something unusual. There was not a single sound within a 2-kilometer radius. It was very quiet. When Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense, he did not even see the spirit beasts that he normally saw. He did not know where they were. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and stopped walking. He said doubtfully, "What's going on? I can't see a single spirit beast. The air seems to have stopped flowing. Something is strange." With a thought, Xiao Chen no longer sent out his spiritual sense as a halo. Instead, he gathered it into a thin line and shot it out. After Xiao Chen's spiritual sense turned into a thin line, he could extend it to a distance of 10 kilometers. Finally, he discovered something else. At the end of Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, there was a black flood heading in the direction of Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, this black flood was made up of a group of cavalry wearing pitch-black battle armor. A rough count gave at least 1,000 of them. 1,000 black cavalry gathered together, giving off an overwhelming aura. Even from a distance, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense felt a huge pressure. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense, and his expression changed slightly. He muttered, "Kim Tae-ho, could he have fallen at the hands of this group of people? I'll change directions first." Just as Xiao Chen was about to move, he thought of something. He sent out his spiritual sense in advance. In the end, he discovered that he was surrounded by these horrifying black cavalry. Surrounded, Xiao Chen could not help but look at the sky. If there was an opening there, he would be able to leave easily. However, when Xiao Chen looked up, he discovered that at some point in time, a flock of fierce wind vultures had appeared in the sky. There was a knight wearing black battle armor sitting on each fierce wind vulture. Xiao Chen could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He said, "There is really no way out." Dong! 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 Deafening galloping sounds came from the ground. 10 groups of black cavalry kicked up a cloud of dust as they galloped over. Each group of black cavalry had 1,000 people. When added together, there were 10,000 of them. Xiao Chen took a rough look and saw a black mass. The weakest of these 10,000 people was a martial grandmaster. There were at least 1,000 martial saints and above. The auras of over 10,000 people merged together, forming a continuous stretch. Even the air seemed to stop flowing, making it difficult for people to breathe. These were no longer bandits. This was probably the strength of the great Qin nation's elite army. The 10 people in the lead rode on black war horses. They wore black masks that covered half their faces. They rode the black war horses and walked in front of Xiao Chen. The person in the middle should be the leader of this group of people. He was a peak martial king. Just one glance was enough to make Xiao Chen feel incomparably terrified. When that person saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, he revealed a faint smile under his mask. He said, "Qingyun Pixi Chen, right? Didn't anyone tell you that you cannot be too ruthless in this devil savannah? Hand over 500,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones. You can leave. You are not allowed to appear in the devil savannah in the future," the leader continued. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He quickly thought of a countermeasure. This request was too much, he could not agree to it. He said in a sullen voice, "What if I don't hand it over?" The leader was not surprised at Xiao Chen's reply. He smiled faintly and said, "You should have seen what happened to Jin Ba Bao. His initial reply was the same as yours." It turned out that this group of people had their eyes on Fatso. The waters of the Devil Savannah were deeper than Xiao Chen had imagined. No wonder the three noble clans had failed to capture Xiao Chen when they surrounded him. When the leader saw that Xiao Chen was silent, he muttered, "You are different from Fatso. You have not gone to the extreme. It is fine if you do not hand it over. If you can withstand 3 palm strikes from me, I will give you 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. However, you are not allowed to step into the Devil Savannah in the future." Xiao Chen was not in a rush to reply. The two options that this person gave him were not easy to choose from. The first option would make Xiao Chen bleed. The latter option looked good. Not only did it not require Xiao Chen to fork out spirit stones, it even gave him spirit stones. However, 3 palm strikes from a peak martial king was not easy to receive. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Unfortunately, the situation was in the hands of the other party. Xiao Chen did not have many trump cards to choose from. If he did not guess wrong, the other party should be worried about his identity as a member of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. That was why they were not in a rush to make a move. Otherwise, they would not be speaking so much nonsense with him. Xiao Chen would have ended up like Fatso. Not going to say anything. In that case, take it as you choosing the second option, the black-clothed masked man said indifferently. Right after he spoke, the black-clothed man had already arrived before Xiao Chen. He sent out a palm strike, creating a boundless whistling sound. It tore through the water like air and surged toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. He had no other choice. He quickly circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. His bones gave off crackling sounds and the image of a ferocious tiger condensed on his body. When Xiao Chen punched out, the ferocious tiger poured into his arm, carrying a strong force. Xiao Chen clashed with the black-clad man's palm strike. He did not hold back in this punch, it contained a force of 18,000 kilograms. Bang! The fist and palm collided and gave off a loud sound. A shockwave visible to the naked eye surged in all directions, leaving ripples in the air. A huge force poured into his body from his arm. Xiao Chen felt his internal organs churn. The qi and blood in his body surged, and hot blood rushed to his head. Chapter 289. When the black-clothed man felt the force from Xiao Chen's fist, he was mildly astonished. Xiao Chen actually received his palm strike head-on and did not retreat at all. "Retreat!" The black-clothed man shouted in his heart, and a hidden force surged out from his palm. A horrifying force was transmitted and Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. Xiao Chen's body immediately flew back. Hu Qi! Before Xiao Chen could stabilize himself, the black-clothed man's second palm strike arrived, not giving him any time to react. His left hand turned into a dragon and his right hand turned into a tiger. Xiao Chen quickly crossed his arms and the dragon and tiger merged into his body. This was the third move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon. The Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon that could block 25,000 kilograms of force was like a mountain when the black-clothed man's palm strike landed on it. There was a loud rumbling sound and the ground started to shake. Xiao Chen did not hesitate. He knew that this person would definitely continue to use hidden force to attack him. He immediately withdrew his body and quickly retreated. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulated continuously. Using the stance of the Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon, he continuously gathered energy. The two images of a dragon and a tiger circling around his body were very realistic. The dragon roars and tiger roars continuously resounded. The black-clothed man revealed a smile under his mask. "Not bad. You received 2 of my palm strikes. There is still 1 more. If you can receive it, you can leave." Xiao Chen remained silent. When he saw the black-clothed man flying at him again, he suddenly shouted. The roar of a dragon and tiger came from his dantian. The roar was like thunder, reverberating in the surroundings. Finally, it gathered together and formed a strong aura that rushed to the 9 heavens. A large portion of the clouds in the sky were scattered by the shockwave. The roar of the dragon and tiger pierced through the sky. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen's dragon and tiger body sculpting art broke through to the peak at such a moment. He rushed to the 9 heavens in one breath and scattered the clouds. When Xiao Chen punched, he used the accumulated energy of the crouching tiger hidden dragon. This punch seemed to pierce through the air. There was an ear-piercing explosion that resounded continuously. However, the black-clothed man's third palm strike was much more powerful than the previous two. Even if he didn't use 70% of his strength, he still used 50% of his strength. Bang! A deafening roar resounded across the vast grassland. Under this sound wave, the surrounding warhorses all fell into a state of panic. All sorts of voices mixed together, and the scene was filled with mockery. The power behind Xiao Chen's fist completely exceeded the black-clothed man's expectations. It was a full 25,000 gene of strength, causing him to take 3 steps back. Every time they took a step back, a 3-foot-deep footprint would be left on the ground, and the surrounding ground would shake. Many of the shadow cavalry were directly shaken off their horses. Xiao Chen was in an even worse state. The final hidden force from the black-clothed man was incomparably terrifying. In an instant, it surged into Xiao Chen's meridians and violently surged forward, completely disrupting the circulation of essence in his body. Xiao Chen vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood in the air and flew back more than 100 meters before landing heavily on the ground. Then, he vomited another mouthful of blood. The difference between an inferior grade martial king and a peak martial king is simply too great. I can defeat you, Mingshan, who is only an inferior grade martial king. However, I have no chance of victory against a peak martial king. My current combat prowess should be equal to a peak inferior grade martial king. I might even be able to hold my own against a medial grade martial king. If I run into a superior grade martial king, I will have to flee quickly. Xiao Chen thought to himself. These 3 palm strikes gave him a better understanding of the strength of a peak martial king. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and stood up again. He placed a blood-replenishing pill in his mouth and said to the black-clothed man, "Might I ask for your name?" The black-clothed man tossed out boxes of spirit stones and said indifferently, "With your strength, you are qualified to know my name. Chu Jun, here are 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Take them and leave. Don't ever come to the Devil's Savannah again." Xiao Chen slowly wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips. He revealed a faint smile on his pale face. "Chu Jun. I will remember these 3 palm strikes. I will definitely return them to you in the future." Rushing thunder roars, 10,000 horses gallop. It was unknown when a large number of dark clouds had gathered above the crowd. Following Xiao Chen's shout, there was a burst of electricity in the dark clouds. A huge electric whirlpool formed. Countless electric knights soared out of the whirlpool. Xiao Chen hid among the electric knights and quickly charged at the surrounding black knights. Bang! 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 The surging electric knights were caught off guard and opened a gap in the encirclement. Xiao Chen did not linger to fight. After he broke through this gap, he immediately made all the electric knights explode to cover his retreat. After that, he activated the Windwalk shoes and executed the Blue Dragon Cloud soaring art to its limits. His speed soared to the speed of sound as he rushed forward. Just as the other black knights and cultivators in the sky were about to give chase, Chu Jun waved his hand and stopped them. A masked black-clothed man at the side said, "Commander Chu, why did you not make a move to stop him?" Chu Jun said indifferently, "Stop him. What is the point of stopping him? Kill him. Are you not afraid of the divine saber camp surrounding him again? Such a genius is like Murong Chong from a few years ago. He is definitely someone that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would focus on nurturing. If we kill him, they will definitely take revenge." A purple light flickered and Xiao Chen turned into a purple blur. He expended his essence without caring about it. He activated the windwalk shoes at full power and flew for 4 hours before he stopped. After looking around, Xiao Chen's pale face felt somewhat depressed. When he was fleeing, he did not notice that he was running in the opposite direction from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Never mind, I should not care about this. I should treat my injuries first. That person's inner energy is too ferocious. If I leave it in my body for a long time, it will definitely leave behind some hidden injuries. Xiao Chen found a desolate place and took out a medial-grade spirit stone. Then, he started to slowly recover his essence. Bai jumped out of the spirit blood jade obediently and stood guard by Xiao Chen's side. It helped him chase away the ferocious spirit beasts wandering around, allowing Xiao Chen to focus on recovering his essence. The vast essence in the medial-grade spirit stone quickly entered Xiao Chen's body. He had exhausted too much essence in the mad dash earlier. His essence had not recovered to its peak, so he could not properly use it to treat his injuries. Thus, in order to treat his injuries, he had to recover all his essence first. At the start, Xiao Chen needed an entire night to absorb the energy of a medial-grade spirit stone. Now, he only needed 4 hours to completely absorb the energy of a medial-grade spirit stone. This time, because of his injuries, his absorption speed was slower than usual. After 8 hours, Xiao Chen finally finished recovering his essence. He started to carefully remove the hidden energy that the black-clothed man had left in his meridians. The importance of meridians to cultivators went without saying. Xiao Chen would rather take more trouble and spend more time than to use brute force. This cleansing process took 6 hours. Finally, the hidden energy that the black-clothed man had left in his body was completely removed. Xiao Chen immediately felt very relaxed. When he looked up, the sky was already dark. Xiao Chen decided to travel through the night. After hesitating for a while, he gave up on the idea of using the silver warship. The silver warship was too eye-catching. It would easily expose his identity. Back in Whitewater City, many people had seen him use it. If they found out, it would be troublesome. The aristocratic families had never let up on their pursuit of him. This time, he had seen his wanted poster in every city along the way. Without resting for too long, Xiao Chen checked the direction and started moving again. Bai followed behind Xiao Chen. His speed was not much slower than Xiao Chen's. After that, Xiao Chen did not run into any obstructions along the way. With the windwalk shoes activated, the journey, which would have taken 5 days, took only 3 days to complete. When Xiao Chen saw the Lingyun mountain range appear in his vision, the uneasiness in his heart became even stronger. Something must have happened to someone he cared about. Otherwise, he would not have such an intense feeling. Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Bian Peak, Song Kei's bedroom, urgent footsteps could be heard. The door opened with a bang. Song Qianhe said anxiously, "Father, I have received news that Xiao Chen will arrive at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in 4 hours." On the bed, Song Kei, who only had one arm remaining, opened his eyes. A dense killing intent flashed in his eyes as he said, "Send someone to inform the assassins of the Flying Snow Manor. After that, don't bother with him. As long as he dies outside the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, it will have nothing to do with us." When Song Kei received news that Xiao Chen had killed Yu Mingshan, he was extremely astonished. He had not expected Xiao Chen to be able to kill an inferior-grade martial king. Furthermore, it was the extremely cautious Yu Mingshan. This made Song Kei feel threatened. This brat's strength was growing too fast. If Xiao Chen were to advance to martial king, his life would be in danger. This was especially so now that he only had one arm remaining. Thus, before Xiao Chen matured, he had to kill him. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult to make a move in the future. On the path to the top of the mountain, Xiao Chen looked at the tall peaks of Lingyun Mountain. Suddenly, he stopped. He felt a weak killing intent. He immediately extended out his spiritual sense and found 4 inferior-grade martial kings hidden in the bushes by the roadside. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and placed his right hand on the hilt of the lunar shadow saber. They are actually people from the Flying Snow Manor, Xiao Chen said indifferently. No wonder they dared to make a move at the foot of Lingyun mountain range. At this moment, Xiao Chen was extremely furious. He felt very anxious to know the truth of the matter. He did not expect to meet with an assassination attempt here. Aside from Song Ke, there was no one else who could know his whereabouts like the back of their hand. Furthermore, they could spend a large sum of money to hire a martial king to kill him. Damn it! I have to find an opportunity to kill this person. Otherwise, there will be no end to this trouble, Xiao Chen thought to himself coldly. When the four hidden people saw Xiao Chen suddenly stop, they did not hesitate to draw their swords. Qi! Qi! Four strands of dense sword qi tore through the bushes in front of them and shot towards Xiao Chen. There was a qualitative difference between an inferior-grade martial king's sword qi and a martial saint's. With the essence infused into Xiao Chen's body, it would be difficult for him to block it. However, Xiao Chen did not even think of dodging. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand. Chapter 290. Glittering Wukue. A purple saber light flashed. Xiao Chen's saber vibrated 4 times in the air. 4 divine Wukue tree branches turned into dense saber qi and welcomed the attack without hesitation. Dang! 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 When the saber qi and sword qi clashed, they clanged in the air, giving off melodious explosions. The 4 assassins moved like phantoms, each heading for Xiao Chen from a different direction. The 4 of them were already inferior-grade martial kings. Their speed reached the speed of sound, they merged with the wind silently. Purple thunder, true fire. Shoot! The fierce purple flame in Xiao Chen's right eye started to burn continuously. The flame quickly condensed into a purple light. It stretched in his right eye and turned into a purple arrow. The arrow flew out at lightning speed, it was faster than sound. In an instant, it pierced through the chest of the assassin in front and flew into the distance like a meteor. At this moment, with 4 early-stage inferior-grade martial kings surrounding him, if Xiao Chen still did not use his trump card, he would be too stupid. Bang! 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 The jade pendant on Xiao Chen's chest quickly activated. The remaining 3 inferior-grade martial saints thought they could take advantage of this opportunity to strike Xiao Chen. However, they were all repelled by the barrier. A huge force came from the barrier and bounced back at the 3, knocking them back. The 3 of them had used their full strength in their attacks. Almost all of them were repelled. The essence in their bodies became chaotic and they were caught off guard. I have to end this quickly. The longer this drags on, the greater the disadvantage I will be in, Xiao Chen quickly thought to himself. I only have a few trump cards. If they see through me, it will be useless. Wukue shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen roared ferociously and leaped into the air. The ancient divine Wukue tree appeared from nowhere. It carried an earth-shattering aura as it pressed down on a retreating martial saint. Bang! 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 This killing move contained a strong state of thunder. The retreating inferior-grade martial king had no way to block it. The force of the divine Wukue tree struck him and he vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, he flew back again. After suffering 2 heavy blows in a row, Xiao Chen would not be able to fight for a while. He turned around and faced the 2 assassins behind him. Purple light flickered under his feet, and a strange purple flower bud appeared out of nowhere, wrapping around Xiao Chen's body. Both of their swords struck the flower bud, but there was no reaction at all. Seeing this, they hurriedly retreated. Wukue blossoms! Xiao Chen shouted from within the flower bud, and the purple flower bud suddenly bloomed. A moment later, the petals danced in the air, forming a dazzling Wukue flower. Xiao Chen's figure flashed in the air. He leaped over the petals that filled the sky and stabbed out with his saber. As Xiao Chen passed through the petals, countless streams of light fell from the petals. His speed instantly reached its peak, reaching 2 times the speed of sound. Puchi! Xiao Chen, who had reached 2 times the speed of sound, stabbed an assassin as expected. This speed was not something they could react to at all. Wu Kuei supporting the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted, and the petals that filled the air flowed into the assassin's wound. The assassin's body immediately flew back 200 meters. In the next moment, a towering tree rose from the assassin's chest, pressing him down firmly. When Xiao Chen made his move, the remaining assassin did not hesitate to stab him with his sword. Xiao Chen had already used up all his trump cards. Furthermore, he had just finished his move. There was no way for him to dodge this attack. He could only tilt his body slightly, avoiding a vital point. Blood immediately spurted out of Xiao Chen's chest. The wound was only 2 centimeters away from Xiao Chen's heart. If it had been any closer, he would have died immediately. Intense pain spread out. At the critical moment of life and death, Xiao Chen suddenly calmed down. Enduring the boundless pain, Xiao Chen grasped his sword with his left hand. Blood flowed continuously from his palm as he prevented the other party from stabbing in. At the same time, the lunar shadow saber in his right hand stabbed at the assassin's chest. The other party did not dodge. A cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He held his sword with one hand and held it with both hands. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt a strong essence coming from the sword. As long as the essence flowed into his body through the sword, it would immediately crush his heart. This was because the wound was too close to his heart. Unexpectedly, the other party chose to die together with him. The assassins of the Flying Snow Manor were too decisive. Just as Xiao Chen was about to despair, a gentle breeze blew. There was a flash of light and the assassin's head flew off. The surging essence on the sword was immediately severed. That person's headless body fell heavily to the ground. When Xiao Chen saw the person who helped him kill the 2 heavily injured martial kings, his eyes were filled with surprise. The person who helped him was actually Murong Chong, who did not get along with him. It was not a coincidence that Murong Chong appeared here. After he found out that the tendon refining flour was taken away by Xiao Chen, he had been following him from afar. When Murong Chong saw Xiao Chen slowly pull out the sword from his chest, he said indifferently, "Keep your life. I will personally come for it on the 15th. Xiao Chen applied some ointment to his wound and bandaged it. Then, he watched Murong Chong leave. His eyes were filled with doubt. What exactly is going on? What will happen on the 15th? Could it be that the thing that I have been feeling has something to do with him? At the foot of Lingyun mountain range, Xiao Chen verified his identity with the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's guards. Then, he quickly rushed towards Qingyun Peak. Xiao Chen did not even have time to treat the wound on his chest. He only applied some ointment and bandaged it. Before he got far, he felt an intense pain in his chest. However, the uneasiness in his heart intensified. Xiao Chen was sure that something had happened to someone he cared about on Qingyun Peak. Yi Chen is back. Look, it really is Yi Chen. As he passed by the other peaks, a disciple recognized Xiao Chen's appearance and immediately exclaimed in astonishment. I heard that he killed the black tuna whale and the veteran expert, Yu Mingshan, at the Black Dragon River. Now, everyone in the Shihe province is talking about him. Indeed, he also fought Mu Qingxue to a draw in Shihe province. They were neck and neck. For him to be able to fight the famous Mu Qingxue to a draw, his name has spread throughout the Shihe province. However, such a big matter has happened on Qingyun Peak. Now, he has to face Murong Chong in advance. His life will be in danger in the match of life and death. I can only say that it is unfortunate. Murong Chong was already a superior grade martial saint a year ago. With his talent now, it would be easy for him to kill an inferior grade martial king. If Xiao Chen fought him, his chances of victory would be slim. The surrounding discussions entered Xiao Chen's ears. This caused his anxious expression to turn even more unsightly. Lu Riyue, please don't let anything happen to her. Xiao Chen endured the pain in his chest and rushed to Qingyun Peak. He did not think too much and immediately headed for Lu Riyue's room. Qingyun Peak was the same as before. There was a cool breeze and clear water. There were very few people, it was very quiet. Xiao Chen did not run into anyone along the way. When he arrived at Lu Ruyue's courtyard, Xiao Chen resisted the thought of using his spiritual sense to check. He took a deep breath and slowly relaxed the tense expression on his face from the pain. Dong! 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 The sound of footsteps came from outside the courtyard. Xiao Chen quickly looked up and saw Lu Suifeng walking out with an anxious expression. Lu Suifeng raised his head and saw Xiao Chen in front of the courtyard. He immediately revealed a joyful expression and said, "Xiao Chen, when did you return?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Not long ago, I just arrived." Then, he asked probingly, "Elder Sister Ruyue, are you all right?" When Lu Suifeng heard this, the smile on his face immediately vanished. He became anxious again. He sighed and said, "Don't go in first. Let's talk as we walk. My elder sister failed to break through to Martial King. Her meridians were severed and she became a cripple." Along the way, Lu Suifeng calmly said something that Xiao Chen did not dare believe. Although Xiao Chen had a premonition that something would happen to Lu Ruyue, before he received any concrete news, he would always be optimistic. Her meridians were severed and she became a cripple. How could Lu Ruyue accept such a result? Xiao Chen could understand Lu Ruyue's feelings just by thinking about it. Xiao Chen quickly asked, "What's going on? Her cultivation is already infinitely close to Martial King. Why did she forcefully break through? Couldn't she just let nature take its course?" Breaking through from Martial Saint to Martial King was much more difficult than breaking through in the past. This was especially so for breaking through before the age of 25. The difficulty one would face would be several times that of a regular cultivator. This was because all the strong cultivators since ancient times had one thing in common. They all broke through to Martial King before the age of 25. On the other hand, if one could break through to Martial King before the age of 25, they would at least become a martial monarch. With Lu Ruyue's talent, she was infinitely close to Martial King before the age of 24. It was certain that she would become a Martial King before the age of 25. If there was nothing special, there was no need to forcefully break through. The difference in danger between forcefully breaking through and succeeding naturally was like the difference between heaven and earth. Being infinitely close to Martial King did not mean that one would succeed if one forcefully broke through. The danger would not decrease at all. This was because before the time was right, the risk would not change. Lu Suifeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Do you remember when she came out of the subspace and suddenly went into closed-door cultivation?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Of course I remember. That was when she started preparing to break through." Lu Suifeng nodded and said, "Not long after we left, Murong Chong mentioned the Peak Master Contention battle to the Elders' Assembly. My sis must have received the news in advance. She did not have absolute confidence in defeating Murong Chong, so she decided to take the risk and forcefully break through to Martial King. Keep your life, I will come and take it on the 15th. Xiao Chen thought of Murong Chong's words and asked, "What is the Peak Master Contention battle? Tell me in detail." Lu Suifeng explained. The Peak Master Contention battle was a privilege given by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to the top 10 of the Wind Cloud list. They had a chance to challenge the Peak Master once in their lifetime. If they succeeded, they would become the Peak Master of that peak. Before the Peak Master Contention battle, both parties had to sign a life-and-death contract. For the sake of the Peak Master position, both parties could not hold back. Hence, once the battle started, life or death would be up to fate. This rule had existed since the establishment of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. In all of history, only 10 people had succeeded in challenging the Peak Master position. Chapter 291. This was because the Peak Master was at least a peak medial grade Martial King. Unless they were demonic geniuses, very few disciples could successfully challenge them. Only Lu Ruyue was an exception. Due to her father's special circumstances, she inherited the position of Peak Master early. Lu Suifeng said, "This is also why my elder sister cultivates so desperately. In the past few years, my elder sister received a total of 3 challenges and defeated them all. However, she did not expect Morongchong to challenge her this time. Xiao Chen frowned and said, "Is Morongchong very strong? With Lu Rue's strength, could she not be a match for him?" Lu Suifeng said sullenly, "He is very strong. 3 years ago, when he left Qingyun Peak, he only lost to my elder sister by one move. 3 years later, my elder sister is no longer confident of winning." Xiao Chen said doubtfully, "If elder sister Rue is injured, doesn't that mean Morongchong will win?" Lu Suifeng glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "No. According to tradition, when the master is injured, the disciple will replace him. So, the task of protecting Qingyun Peak will be handed to you." When Xiao Chen heard this, he was slightly stunned. However, he was not surprised. He finally understood why those disciples had such a big reaction when they saw him. However, honestly speaking, Xiao Chen did not have much confidence against Morongchong. When he executed the clear wind chop at the foot of the mountain, it was clear that he had improved. His comprehension of the state of wind had completely fooled Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen got up and said, "Never mind, let's not think about this. I'll go and check on elder sister Rue first." There was no point in thinking too much. It was better to check on Lu Rue's injuries first. Lu Suifeng stopped Xiao Chen and said, "Wait a while. She just fell asleep and has not eaten much in the past few days. Let her rest first." When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt an indescribable pain in his heart. He nodded silently. After Lu Suifeng left, Xiao Chen dealt with his injuries and started to meditate to recover to his peak. However, no matter what, he could not calm down. If this continued, he might end up in a state of berserking qi deviation. Xiao Chen felt helpless. He could only get up and stop cultivating, sitting alone in the courtyard. In the huge courtyard, Xiao Chen took out the tendon refining flower from the universe ring. There was a faint smile on his face. It seemed like everything was going according to the will of the heavens. When he was in the Devil Savannah, he had just obtained the tendon refining flower. However, before he could consume it, he received the news of Lu Rue's meridians being severed. However, the tendon refining flower could not heal the meridians. If the 9 major meridians in the human body were also broken, then even God Daluo would not be able to recover. Lu Suifeng had left in a hurry. He had not thought of this problem earlier. At this moment, Xiao Chen could not help but feel conflicted again. This was probably the reason why he could not calm down completely earlier. Chen, Xiao Long, Shen, Sun, were Lu Chen Su I a few words. Xiao, Xiao Chen. Long, King, He Long, S I of Lu, He Chen, A, Lu, Su, Chen, to say, he. What exactly is the reason? Xiao Chen looked at the distant red clouds in the sky, his face filled with confusion. Never mind, I'm not going to think about it. Xiao Chen shook his head and sighed. If I can't figure it out, I'll put it aside for now. I will understand it one day. He would not get an answer if he kept thinking about it. This was Xiao Chen's usual way of doing things. However, at this moment, he told himself not to think about it. His thoughts were in a mess. He could not calm down no matter what. Xiao Chen's usual determination and calmness were all useless at this moment. Xiao Chen just sat on the stone table as night slowly fell. Finally, Xiao Chen could no longer endure it. He pushed off the ground and leaped over the high wall, heading for Lu Rue's courtyard. Under the illumination of the bright moonlight, Xiao Chen soon arrived at Lu Rue's courtyard. He hesitated for a while before Xiao Chen pushed the door open and entered. Yi Chen. When did you come back? The moment Xiao Chen stepped into the courtyard, he saw Lu Rue wearing a white dress. She had a haggard expression as she sat at the table in the courtyard. When she saw Xiao Chen, she revealed a faint smile on her pale face. The moonlight shone on Lu Rue's graceful figure. Her white dress and pale face made Lu Rue's originally flirtatious temperament appear very weak. This was the first time Xiao Chen saw Lu Rue wearing a dress. In the past, every time he saw Lu Rue, she would be wearing female cultivator robes. Under her flirtatious appearance, she gave off a strong and decisive feeling. There was nothing that could defeat her, she was always filled with passion. The contrast was so great that Xiao Chen was not used to it. For a moment, he forgot his purpose in coming here and did not know how to respond. Lu Riyue looked at Xiao Chen outside the door. Suddenly, her expression changed. She got up and walked over to Xiao Chen. "Yi Chen, are you injured?" Xiao Chen recovered his wits and quickly said, "It's just a small injury, it's not a big deal." Lu Riyue's expression sank. She said, "Don't lie to me. Although I no longer have my cultivation, I still have some eyesight. Let me take a look." Xiao Chen felt ashamed in his heart. He quickly stepped back and said, "I'm really fine. Elder sister Riyue, let me take a look at your injuries first." Lu Riyue placed her hand on Xiao Chen's chest and felt the location of the wound. Her expression changed as she said, "The wound is only 2 centimeters away from your heart. If it was any closer, you would have died. This is just a small injury. Who did this?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Naturally, he could not tell Lu Riyue the truth. He said, "The bandits of the Devil Savannah. However, I have always been very lucky. I will not die so easily." Walking behind Lu Riyue, Xiao Chen placed his right hand on her shoulder. Lu Riyue's body trembled slightly, but she quickly calmed down. Xiao Chen's essence flowed into Lu Riyue's body through his right hand. The essence circulated through Lu Riyue's 9 major meridians before Xiao Chen let go. He heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Riyue turned around and smiled faintly, "I am now a cripple. In the future, I will not be able to guide you in martial techniques." Xiao Chen shook his head and took out the tendon refining flower from the universe ring. He said, "That might not be the case. Look at this. Tendon refining flower?" Lu Riyue said in astonishment, "Where did you get this?" It had to be known that injuries to a cultivator's meridians were the most difficult to treat. Normally, when the meridians were damaged, they would need to be nurtured for a long time before they could be treated. As for Lu Riyue, aside from some peak-grade immortal herbs, normal medicinal pills for treating meridians would not have any effect on her. However, peak-grade immortal herbs could only be found and not sought. Hence, the only thing that could help her was this tendon refining flower. Although the tendon refining flower's rank was not high, it was extremely rare. It took a long time to mature as well. Even in some auctions, it was difficult to obtain. This was because the moment it appeared, it would be snatched up. Hence, Lu Riyue was very astonished at how Xiao Chen obtained it. Xiao Chen did not answer this question directly. He smiled gently and said, "Your 9 major meridians are not really injured. With this tendon refining flower, your meridians should be able to recover in a month. Furthermore, the toughness of your meridians will improve." Lu Riyue revealed a joyful expression when she received the tendon refining flower. However, she immediately turned sad. She said, "I still cannot make it in time for Morong Chang's appointment in a month. In the end, I am still too late." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "You don't believe in my strength?" When Lu Riyue heard this, she was slightly stunned. She remembered when she first met Xiao Chen. At that time, she could easily defeat him. However, in the short span of half a year, Xiao Chen's cultivation had risen from martial grandmaster to medial-grade martial saint. His combat prowess was comparable to an inferior-grade martial king. With such talent, he was no weaker than Morong Chong. Unfortunately, he was still too slow. The time he had to grow was too short. Furthermore, the battle between the two of them was not an ordinary exchange of pointers. It was a battle to the death. However, given Morong Chang's character, Lu Riyue was very clear that he would not leave a path of retreat for himself. Xiao Chen would be in great danger. Just recuperate in peace. No matter what, I will help you protect Qingyun Peak. This is because I am also a member of Qingyun Peak. I will take my leave first, Xiao Chen said with a serious expression. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he turned and left. Just as he was about to step out of the courtyard, Lu Riyue said softly, "Yi Chen, thank you." Xiao Chen paused for a while and smiled faintly. Then, he increased his speed and left this place. After returning to his courtyard, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on his bed and immediately circulated his essence to treat his injuries. This time, his heart was as calm as still water, there were no ripples at all. His mind was clear as he slowly circulated his essence to treat the sword wound on his chest. Xiao Chen's physical body was very strong. After a few rounds of tempering and the assistance of the 7-leaf flower, his recovery ability had reached a considerable level. The wound did not pierce through his chest. As long as Xiao Chen had time to calm down, he would be able to recover in less than 24 hours. 2 days later, Xiao Chen's chest wound had completely recovered. During this period of time, Lu Suifeng came over once. He had brought a lot of superior quality healing medicine from Jade Maiden Peak. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Chen's injuries were actually not serious. He had nearly injured his heart. However, it was still a close call. Xiao Chen's vital areas were not severely injured. He only needed to use his essence to nourish himself for a period of time. There was no need for so much healing medicine. After not going out for 2 days, Xiao Chen got up and pushed open the door. The sunlight shone on his face as the fresh air assaulted his face. He immediately felt refreshed and relaxed. The 15th, there is still 1 more week to go. Murong Chong already knows most of my trump cards. However, I do not know much about Murong Chong's trump cards. I have to practice the 3 sure-kill moves of the Wukue Saber technique and turn them into new trump cards. Otherwise, I will not have any chance of victory. I can also modify the Rushing Thunder Roars. I can change it from a group attacking martial technique to a single target martial technique. I can also use it as a trump card. Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he looked into the distance at the bright and beautiful sky. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen went over the walls of the courtyard and headed for the back mountain of Qingyun Peak. There were not many people in the entire Qingyun Peak. Thus, the vast back mountain was very quiet. It was very suitable for Xiao Chen's requirements. Arriving at an empty space, Xiao Chen practiced the first 3 moves of the Wukue Saber technique. Glittering Wukue. The saber flashed 9 times in the air. Suddenly, 9 purple branches of the divine Wukue tree appeared. The branches moved like lightning, moving chaotically in the air. They tore through space and left behind marks. Chapter 292. Xiao Chen withdrew his saber and stopped in satisfaction. He was close to great perfection in the 3 foundational moves. He could already send out 9 strands of dense saber chi at the same time. The quality of a martial saint's saber chi was much weaker than a martial king's. However, Xiao Chen had glittering Wukue. The saber chi from the tree branch was no weaker than a martial king's saber chi. This made up for this gap. Furthermore, this move exhausted very little essence. It could be executed indefinitely until the essence was exhausted. It was no different from a saber chi. This way, in terms of the quality of the saber chi, Xiao Chen had an advantage over Murong Chong. Although it was not a big advantage, it increased his chances of victory. After practicing the 3 foundational moves, Xiao Chen started to practice the 3 killing moves: Wukue shakes the heavens, Wukue blossoms, and Wukue supporting the heavens. Wukue shakes the heavens was a separate move. As for Wukue blossoms and Wukue supporting the heavens, they had to be chained together in order to bring out their greatest might. After executing the 3 killing moves, Xiao Chen looked at the deep trenches on the ground and the purple electricity lingering in the air. He stopped and rested for a while. Wukue breaks the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted and executed the 7th move according to the Wukue Saber technique's mental cultivation method. Immediately, an ancient divine tree slowly grew from its roots. However, before it finished growing, a saber light appeared on the saber, extending for 100 meters. Xiao Chen did not show much surprise on his face. He said softly, "I released it too early. The timing is not in sync with the circulation of essence." Again. Boom! He failed the second time. Like before, the saber chi only extended for 100 meters before it fell. Its might was not even as strong as glittering wukue. Second time, failure. Third time, failure. Fourth time, failure. Xiao Chen could no longer remember how many times he had failed. However, he did not feel discouraged. Every time he failed, he would summarize the reason for his failure and continue trying. The killing move of the wukue saber technique was already very ferocious. It could kill an inferior-grade martial king. Xiao Chen believed that the killing move would be even more ferocious. A regular peak inferior-grade martial king might not be able to withstand it. Thus, it was expected that it would be harder to practice. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was someone who could endure loneliness. The repeated failures did not make him feel frustrated. Hu Qi. The divine wukue tree above Xiao Chen's head had already grown to a near-perfect state. However, the light on the saber still lit up ahead of time, extending a 500-meter-long saber light. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiao Chen encouraged himself, "Not bad, just a little bit more and I'll succeed." Continue. After practicing for such a long time, Xiao Chen had gained some understanding of the mysteries of wukue breaks the heavens. This move focused on the mysterious phenomenon, the speed of the circulation of quintessential energy, and the timing of the release. The three had to be completed at the same time to be able to execute this move. The so-called mysterious phenomenon naturally referred to the divine wukue tree above him. The latter two were easy to understand, but they were the hardest to do. By now, Xiao Chen had complete control over his phenomenon, and he could control the speed at which his quintessential qi circulated at will. The only thing he couldn't coordinate was the timing of the release. Unknowingly, the sky slowly darkened. Xiao Chen was still practicing this move without any discouragement. Wukue breaks the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted, and the ancient divine wukue tree slowly formed. The instant the divine wukue tree completely formed, the lunar shadow saber in Xiao Chen's hand suddenly lit up with a resplendent saber light in the dark night. The saber light quickly elongated. In a breath of time, it extended by 1,000 meters. At the end of the saber light was a mountain wall. There was a loud rumble and a bottomless cave appeared. Rocks fell down continuously. "I finally succeeded," Xiao Chen revealed a gratified smile. "Hard work pays off, I finally grasped this move. Next, I have to try to infuse the state of thunder into it. Only by infusing the state into the saber technique would I be able to bring out the might of this martial technique." Dark clouds churned endlessly in the sky. Low and deep thunder rumbled continuously. Occasionally, tiny bolts of lightning would tear through the night sky, illuminating the ground. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He placed his right hand on the saber hilt and continuously gathered the state of thunder. The thunder in the sky grew louder and louder. It was like there was a huge army in the middle, galloping and roaring angrily. A boundless aura reverberated in the back mountains. A visible purple energy drifted in the air, giving off a zzz sound. Wukue breaks the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted, and the ancient divine wukue tree above his head grew rapidly. When the wukue tree was completely grown, Xiao Chen's right hand, which was on the saber hilt, immediately swung. Pu Ci. A resplendent pillar of light appeared on the snow-white saber blade. The endless thunder in the sky suddenly stopped. The silence lasted for less than half a second. Suddenly, thunder resounded. A horrifying purple bolt of lightning tore through the dark clouds in the sky, tearing apart the dark night sky. It was like a berserk roaring dragon descending from the sky. At this moment, Xiao Chen's aura was raised to its peak. He was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard, revealing its sharpness and sweeping through the surroundings. Everywhere he looked, it was like a sharp saber tearing through the air. Rumble. Xiao Chen's state and saber technique finally merged perfectly. The pillar of light on the saber quickly elongated. In the blink of an eye, the peak of the mountain 1,000 meters in front was struck by the pillar of light. The peak shattered and rocks fell from the sky. When the rocks came in contact with the pillar of light, they were immediately reduced to dust. The dust scattered with the wind and disappeared. Dang! Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and the thunderclouds in the sky immediately vanished. The rumbling of thunder stopped. The night turned quiet once again. Only the sound of rocks falling could be heard. Xiao Chen revealed a joyful smile. He muttered, "In 2 days, I finally merged my state of thunder and Wukue breaks the heavens. This move is sufficient to show disdain for martial saints. In terms of might, it is only a hair's breadth away from an inferior grade heaven-ranked martial technique." Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and took out a medial grade spirit stone. He quickly recovered his essence. After a while, the exhausted essence was completely replenished. However, the essence in the medial grade spirit stone had not been completely exhausted yet. Xiao Chen took advantage of the situation and entered a state of cultivation. He infused the remaining energy in the medial grade spirit stone into the qi whirlpool in his dantian. When the spirit stone was completely exhausted, the qi whirlpool expanded slightly. The amount of essence it could contain increased again. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to get up. Instead, he continued circulating the purple thunder divine incantation. He infused the energy he just absorbed into his body, turning it into his own cultivation. After the purple thunder divine incantation completed a great cycle, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. A purple light flashed in his pupils. Xiao Chen got up and looked at the distant horizon. A faint light appeared, dawn was approaching. He said, "After the sky brightens, there are only 5 days left. The Wukue breaks the heavens has just merged with the state. That means there are only 4 days left. Of the 4 days, I will use 3 days to practice the 8th move of the Wukue saber technique. I will use the remaining day to consolidate and modify the rushing thunder roars. That way, I will have 3 trump cards." After taking out some simple food from the universe ring and consuming it, Xiao Chen continued to familiarize himself with merging the Wukue breaks the heavens with the state of thunder. The vast Lingyan mountain range rose and fell in all directions. It was unknown how many meters wide it was. There were many desolate mountain peaks. On an extremely secluded mountain peak. On an incomparably secluded mountain peak, this mountain was very desolate. It was barren and did not have any vegetation. Aside from rocks, there were only rocks. Murong Chong stood quietly at the summit of the mountain with his eyes closed. The mountain was 2,000 meters tall. A strong wind blew, causing Murong Chong's clothes to flutter and his hair to flutter. "Xiao!" Murong Chong suddenly opened his eyes. The light in the depths of his eyes was withdrawn, and his hair stopped fluttering. When the wind blew past him, it seemed like it passed through his body, merging with the wind. The state of wind has finally reached great perfection. My speed can also reach the speed of sound in advance. Given this, I have a 70% chance of dodging his move. Murong Chong said indifferently. Right after he spoke, his body flashed. He followed the direction of the wind and drifted down. He did not make any sound. In the blink of an eye, he had traveled 500 meters. Murong Chong's body flickered continuously as he headed for the foot of the mountain. The clouds in the sky started to churn. Under the clear sky, they moved continuously. The clouds in the sky seemed to be pulled by a strange force and started to collide with each other. As the clouds collided, thunder roared from the 9 heavens. Pu Ci. Murong Chong drew his saber ferociously, and a bolt of lightning shot down from the clouds. Before the lightning bolt landed, a strong gust of wind blew. With a shwa sound, the lightning merged with the strong wind. The formless wind instantly turned purple and formed a purple tornado. Lightning flickered in the wind, and thunder roared. Murong Chong's body rose from the ground. His figure was ethereal and formless in the air, like a cloud moving with the wind. The purple tornado behind him moved with his ethereal figure, moving up and down. Everywhere the tornado passed, countless tall rocks were crushed into dust by the purple tornado, filling the air with dust. As the wind blew, the dust flew everywhere, looking like yellow sand. Chasing clouds, chasing lightning. Murong Chong, who was moving erratically in the air, shouted, and the purple tornado changed. It turned into a purple flood dragon flickering with flowing light. Then, it moved in the direction of Murong Chong's saber light and charged. The flood dragon was incredibly fast, almost faster than the speed of sound. It was a flood dragon made of lightning, clouds, and strong wind. With a loud bang, he crashed into a mountain peak. The mountain peak immediately collapsed and was directly crushed into countless amounts of powder, parting clouds, revealing the sky. Murong Chong shouted again and landed on the ground. His saber lit up with a resplendent light. In an instant, it stretched infinitely and rushed into the sky. The surging clouds were instantly scattered by the saber light, and the sun shone brightly, becoming even more intense, rebuking the wind and clouds. Murong Chong roared ferociously. The cold saber light trembled uncontrollably. Chapter 293. A strong wind blew behind him, kicking up a boundless cloud of dust. The clouds churned in the sky, moving continuously for 18,000 meters. Immediately, the wind blew and the clouds churned. The sky changed color. Murong Chong's aura rushed to the 9 heavens. It was like he was the only king in the world. As he stood there, he was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard. He could even pierce through the sky with it. When Murong Chong swung his saber, a cold saber light lit up. In an instant, the wind stopped and the clouds stopped moving. Only the saber light remained resplendent. Murong Chong relaxed his wrist and the saber light immediately left the saber. It turned into a surging saber chi and charged towards the ground. A 10-meter wide and 30-meter deep gorge immediately appeared on the ground. The saber chi was like a pillar, flying for 5,000 meters before stopping. When one looked into the distance, one could not see the end of the 5-kilometer-long gorge. The remnant state of wind and cloud lingered in the gorge for a long time. Dust rose from the ground and danced chaotically in the wind. Dang! Murong Chong sheathed his saber and stood upright. He looked at the boundless dust in front and the horrifying gorge below. There was no expression on his stern face. He said indifferently, "Lu Riyue will definitely tell Yi Chen about the 9 secret techniques of Qingyun Peak. I cannot use them as my true trump cards. Only the great perfection state of cloud and the self-created 3 styles of wind and cloud can be my true trump cards. Now that the state of wind has reached great perfection as well, the wind and cloud perfectly merged. No one under Martial King will be a match for me." The sun rose and set, the clouds gathered and dispersed. 5 days passed just like that. The 8th move of the Wukue saber technique was harder to learn than Xiao Chen had expected. He spent 3.5 days before he completely learned this move. Then, he merged it with the state of thunder. On the other hand, the adjustments to the rushing thunder roars were easier. Xiao Chen was already very familiar with this move when he was in the Devil Savannah. Now, he only changed the original group attack martial technique into a single target attack. There were not many changes to it. To Xiao Chen, who had consumed the flowing light flower, it was not difficult. Looking at the setting sun, Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and began his journey back to the mountain. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, and his figure flickered, turning into a beam of purple light as he flew away. In less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Xiao Chen returned to his own courtyard. He discovered that Lu Riyue, and Bai, who had been playing outside for the past few days, were waiting for him. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and landed firmly on the ground. He smiled faintly and said, "Why are you all here?" Lu Suifeng smiled and said, "With the great battle ahead, I will give you some encouragement. I will take my leave first. My sister will tell you some information about Murong Chong. I hope it will be of some help to you." After consuming the tendon refining flower, Lu Riyue's complexion was much redder than before. She no longer looked as weak as before. She wore the tight robes of a cultivator once again. After Lu Suifeng left, Lu Riyue got up and looked at Xiao Chen carefully. she discovered that his aura was much more vigorous than it was 5 days ago. His strength had improved greatly. "Come with me to the dueling grounds," Lu Riyue said softly as her red lips parted. Xiao Qin nodded and followed Lu Riyue to the dueling grounds. The two of them stood facing each other in the dueling grounds, separated by 5 meters. Lu Riyue said, "Before Murong Chong left Qingyun Peak, he was only slightly weaker than me. Now that 3 years have passed, his strength will only become more horrifying. I will tell you everything I know." Firstly, he learned 4 of the 9 secret techniques of Qingyun Peak. They are the profound wind chop, the peerless lunar shadow, the clear wind chop, and the flickering light passing shadow. You should be more familiar with the profound wind chop and the clear wind chop. I will demonstrate the peerless lunar shadow and the flickering light passing shadow for you. Xiao Qin quickly said, "Elder sister Riyue, just explain it to me. My meridians have just recovered, it is best not to use essence." Lu Riyue revealed a smile on her flirtatious face. "It's fine, I know my limits. Watch carefully first. This is the peerless lunar shadow. Ka Xie." Lu Riyue immediately drew her saber and sent out a cold saber light. 2 crescent moon-shaped scarlet saber chi appeared on the tip of the saber. Following Lu Riyue's actions, the 2 crescent moons merged together and formed a full moon behind her. The dueling grounds suddenly turned pitch black. The scarlet full moon slowly rose up, illuminating the dark space with a scarlet light. Lu Riyue's body flew up together with the full moon. Under the illumination of the scarlet light, Lu Riyue's body was scarlet. She looked very bewitching and beautiful. The tip of the saber was pointed at Xiao Qin. The aura in this space seemed to have gathered at that point. Xiao Qin frowned slightly. He felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. The qi and blood in his body became restless uncontrollably. He felt an indescribable irritation. What a powerful martial technique! It can actually break my heart. Xiao Qin was secretly startled. He quickly calmed himself down and guarded his dantian. Only then did the uncomfortable feeling slowly disappear. Dang! Lu Riyue sheathed her saber and the mysterious phenomenon disappeared. Her body slowly fell to the ground. When she landed, she staggered and nearly fell over. Xiao Qin was startled and quickly went over to support Lu Riyue. When he saw Lu Riyue's face turn pale again, he said, "Don't risk your life. Elder sister Riyue, just explain it to me. There is no need to demonstrate it." Lu Riyue revealed a bitter smile on her pale face. She struggled to stand up from Xiao Qin's grasp. "It looks like I am forcing myself. Let me explain it to you in detail. Peerless lunar shadow is a mysterious phenomenon created by using one's own killing qi. This martial technique is derived from the divine saber camp's blood shadow chop. The stronger a person's killing qi, the stronger the might of this martial technique. When you face this move, your heart cannot become chaotic. Otherwise, when the killing qi enters your body, you will not even have the chance to draw your saber." Xiao Qin nodded, "I understand. I felt it earlier. However, my character has always been tenacious. My heart will not become chaotic so easily." Seeing Xiao Qin being careless, Lu Riyue revealed a serious expression on her pale face. She said, "You cannot be careless. Back then, for the sake of practicing this move to great perfection, Murong Chong personally killed 50 groups of bandits in the Devil Savannah. If not 10,000 bandits died at his hands, there were at least 8,000. His killing qi is extremely horrifying." When Xiao Qin heard this, he was slightly startled. He did not expect Murong Chong to be so cold-blooded. For the sake of a martial technique, he dyed himself with the blood of tens of thousands of people. However, Xiao Qin remembered that when he saw Murong Chong, he did not feel any signs of killing qi leaking out. If what Lu Riyue said was true, then it could only mean that Murong Chong had already reached a level where he could release and withdraw his killing qi as he pleased. In order to hide so much killing qi, aside from strength, there was an even harsher requirement on one's temperament. What kind of person was this Murong Chong? He had a horrifying talent for cultivation, a cold-blooded and decisive personality, and an incomparably tenacious willpower. It was hard to find a weakness in such a person. Lu Ryue continued, however, you don't have to mind it too much. If you are unable to defeat him in terms of killing Qi, you can use this move to destroy the mysterious phenomenon in advance. You can destroy it before the two crescent moons meet. Xiao Chen thought, this is a method. However, this move has to be fast enough for me to not be able to react in time. Thank you, elder sister Ryue, Xiao Chen said seriously. Lu Ryue smiled faintly and continued, the remaining move is flickering light passing shadow. I do not know this move as well. I only know that it is a cloning martial technique infused with the state of light. It can condense countless clones, making it hard to distinguish the real from the fake in the sky filled with light and shadows. However, Muong Chang's main cultivation is the state of wind. He should not spend too much time practicing this move. You just need to know about it. After that, Lu Ryue explained Muong Chang's other strengths to Xiao Chen in detail. The worry in her eyes did not disappear for even a moment. Remember, at the crucial moment, do not risk your life. Your life is always the most important. To me, even if I manage to keep this Qingyun peak, it would be a great regret if you are not around. So, you must promise me, just admit defeat if you cannot defeat him. Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, Lu Ryue spoke to him in a serious tone. When Xiao Chen agreed, Lu Ryue revealed a satisfied smile and left the dueling grounds. Early the next morning, the breaking sun shone through the window into Xiao Chen's bedroom. Feeling the piercing gaze, Xiao Chen immediately woke up from his sleep. With a huge battle looming over him, he did not cultivate. Instead, he took a good nap, resting his body and mind. After washing up, Xiao Chen felt energized. His entire body, both inside and out, was in peak condition. Lu Ryue and Lu Suifeng were already waiting outside the courtyard. After asking around, Xiao Chen found out that the Peak Master contest would not be held on the Heaven Viewing platform, which he was very familiar with. Instead, it would be held on the Heaven Ascending platform, which he had been to once before. Lu Ryue waved her hand at the sky. A huge heavenly wind eagle circled in the air before landing in front of everyone with a strong gust of wind. After the three of them jumped onto the heavenly wind eagle, the person riding the heavenly wind eagle shouted. The heavenly wind eagle immediately soared into the sky with a berserk wind. Normally, aside from major events, there would not be a single person on the heaven ascending platform of the Lingyun mountain range. However, there was an endless stream of people going up the mountain. It was very lively. There was a huge dueling ground on the platform. Spectator seats surrounded it. In the middle, there was a huge arena that was 2,000 meters long and 100 meters wide. There was no need to wonder why the arena was so big. It was because every Peak Master contest involved battles between martial kings. For a battle of this level, a regular arena would not be enough for them to display their full potential. Muong Chang stood expressionlessly in a corner of the arena with his eyes closed. The spectator seats were filled with people. Furthermore, there were many cultivators rushing over in this direction. It is the Peak Master contest again. I did not expect Muong Chang to attack Qingyun Peak. Unfortunately, Lu Ryue is injured. Qingyun Peak will not be able to hold on this time. That might not be the case. Yi Chen is now a super genius who can defeat the experts of the older generation. In terms of talent, he is definitely not weaker than Muong Chang. His chances of victory should be 50-50. Chapter 294. Haha, you are too naive. Muong Chang was already a peak superior grade martial saint long ago. It is not like there were no experts of the older generation that died at his hands. The two of them might have the same talent, but in terms of cultivation, Xiao Chen is weaker. He does not have much of a chance of victory against Muong Chang. I think so too. Muong Chang's strength has always been very stable. Furthermore, he has practiced all of Qingyun Peak's secret techniques to great perfection. The cultivation techniques and martial techniques he practices are all at the peak of his generation. Furthermore, he has a flawless character. It is hard to imagine that he would lose to Yi Chen. However, why is Yi Chen not here yet? I heard that Mu Qingxue fell last night and has not left the arena since then. Before the fight started, the crowd had already started discussing the two fervently. Although the results were mostly in favor of Murong Chong, they were certain of Xiao Chen's strength. They felt that Murong Chong would not win easily. This would never have happened in the past. However, the series of events proved that Xiao Chen's strength was not just for show. It was real and not an exaggeration. Murong Chong, who was in the arena, did not care about the discussions around him. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and saw a heavenly winged eagle flying towards him. He said indifferently, "He is finally here." When Xiao Chen saw Murong Chong waiting for him in the arena, he calmed himself and leaped off the heavenly winged eagle. He landed firmly in the arena. Lu Ruyue watched the two people about to fight. Her heart was filled with complicated emotions. She muttered softly, "I hope nothing happens to them." Seeing Xiao Chen land, an old man who was a medial-grade martial king immediately walked over. He would be the referee for this fight. At the same time, he was also a member of the Elders' Assembly. The old man waved his hand and the two of them moved back 100 meters. Then, he said indifferently, "There is no such thing as leniency in the fight for the peak master position. However, I will only say one thing. We are all from the same sect. If one side admits defeat, please stop. Cut the crap. Let the fight begin. The victor will decide who Qingyun Peak belongs to." After the old man finished speaking, he lightly tapped the ground with his toes and quickly retreated. Murong Chong and Xiao Chen were separated by 200 meters. They looked at each other and placed their right hands on their saber hilts. Their auras gathered continuously. At this moment, the originally noisy spectator stands were completely silent. Countless pairs of eyes were staring at the two people in the arena. Hu Qi. A red light flashed in Murong Chong's eyes. The killing qi that he had been suppressing followed this gaze and shot towards Xiao Chen. The murderous aura was almost tangible, rippling like water in the air, compressing and enveloping a 1-meter radius around Xiao Chen. Instantly, countless miserable cries rang out in Xiao Chen's ears. Horrifying images appeared before his eyes. These were the resentment left behind by the people Murong Chong killed. Indeed, he can withdraw and release his killing qi as he pleases. No, it is even more profound than that. He is able to surround me with his killing qi and not disperse it. Such a method is already a high-level technique for controlling killing qi. Xiao Chen was mildly astonished as he thought to himself. However, his expression remained calm. There were no fluctuations in his emotions. Focusing and guarding his qi, Xiao Chen's heart was incomparably calm. A clear glow appeared in his calm eyes. His strong spiritual sense protected his heart, not being affected by the killing qi. He allowed the strong killing qi to reverberate around him. Xiao Chen's gaze remained incomparably clear, guarding his heart. Slowly, those illusions broke by themselves and disappeared. Murong Chong's grave and stern face did not show any expression. When he saw that the killing qi was useless, he decisively withdrew it. Hoo! In the arena, a strong wind suddenly blew behind Murong Chong, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Occasionally, there were angry roars coming from the wind. Thunderclouds gathered above Xiao Chen's head, churning continuously. Muffled thunder resounded continuously. The auras that the two had been accumulating for a long time finally erupted. They started to compete in states. The berserk state of wind against the surging state of thunder. Immediately, the wind blew and the clouds churned, the sky changed color. The sun in the sky was covered by the dark clouds, completely losing its light. The arena turned dark. Furthermore, the strong wind kicked up a cloud of dust. Aside from a few cultivators with good eyesight, most of the spectators could not see the situation in the arena clearly. How powerful! Before the duel officially started, the competition of states is already so horrifying. No wonder they can fight across cultivation realms and kill inferior-grade martial kings. The people in the spectator stands were astonished. Dang! In that instant, two resplendent saber lights lit up in the boundless strong wind. The sharp saber lights immediately scattered the dust on the arena. The two of them drew their sabers at the same time and sent out a strand of saber chi each. When the saber chi clashed in the air, it created a surging shockwave that spread out. Murong Chong was somewhat astonished to discover that the density of his saber chi was not as strong as Xiao Chen's. After the purple saber chi shattered his saber chi, it weakened significantly. However, it still quickly flew towards Murong Chong. Murong Chong pushed off the ground and silently leaped forward. He swung his saber and easily shattered the weakened purple saber chi. Then, he rushed at Xiao Chen without slowing down. Xiao Chen did not show any fear. He shouted and charged forward as well. Dang! 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 The sounds of weapons clashing resounded in the arena. Instantly, the sound of wind, thunder, and the clanging of weapons merged together and reverberated in the arena. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged dozens of moves. They countered each other's moves, not giving way to each other. After a while, they shouted and retreated 100 meters. The strong wind scattered and the dust settled. The situation of the arena returned to the crowd's eyes. The gazes of the two were like sabers clashing intensely in the air. Xiao Chen held his saber tightly in his right hand. He maintained a high level of vigilance. This was because the earlier exchanges were just probing moves. Next, they would be fighting for real. Murong Chong revealed a faint smile on his stern face. He said, "After not seeing you for a month, your strength has indeed improved beyond my expectations. You are now qualified to challenge me. However, that is only the right to challenge me." Qingyun Peak's secret technique, Peerless Lunar Shadow. Murong Chong shouted ferociously and the saber in his hand danced around. Two scarlet saber chi of the crescent moon moved in two beautiful arcs in the air as they flew at Xiao Chen. The saber chi contained a boundless killing chi. Everywhere it passed, scarlet ribbons appeared. They looked very beautiful, as if they were blood. Glittering Wukue. Knowing how powerful the peerless lunar shadow was, Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He brandished the snow-white lunar shadow 9 times in the air, bringing out the glittering Wukue to its limits. The 9 divine Wukue tree branches turned into dense saber chi. They were like spears stabbing at the scarlet saber chi in the air. Murong Chong smiled faintly and shook the saber in his wrist. The two scarlet crescent moons paused in the air for a moment. Then, they strangely moved in a semicircle. The point where the crescent moons intersected was where Xiao Chen stood. With such a sudden change, he dodged the 9 purple saber chi that Xiao Chen sent out. Windwalk shoes, activate. Retreat. The speed of the crescent moons instantly reached the speed of sound. Murong Chong had actually infused the state of wind into them. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He activated the windwalk shoes and circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His body turned into a purple arrow as he retreated. Bang! The instant Xiao Chen retreated, the 2 crescent moons merged together and formed a scarlet full moon on the ground. A horrifying red shockwave spread out in all directions. When the shockwave radiated outwards, a mud wall rose up from the ground. Even though Xiao Chen had already avoided it, the speed and might of the shockwave from the scarlet moon still surpassed his expectations. The surging shockwave struck Xiao Chen's body and pushed him back a few hundred meters. The killing chi contained in the shockwave roared in his mind continuously. Xiao Chen's chi and blood surged, and resentment filled his mind. All the blood in his body surged uncontrollably. An irresistible frustration and a desire to massacre rose in his heart. Damn it! Xiao Chen no longer cared about his pride. He circulated his essence and gathered the surging chi and blood. Then, he opened his mouth and spat it out. The surging chi and blood and the boundless killing chi all vanished. Up in the spectator stands, Lu Ryue frowned tightly. Worry was written all over her charming face. She did not expect Xiao Chen to suffer a small loss at the start of the fight. Morong Chang's comprehension of the peerless lunar shadow had already reached the peak of consummation. When he infused it with the berserk state of wind, he pushed the might of this move to a horrifying limit. Who? Morong Chang's body slowly flew up into the sky. The two crescent moon-shaped saber chi on the ground separated and flew back behind him. The crescent moons merged together and formed a true blood moon. A pitch-black night descended, blocking out all the sunlight. It also covered up the dark clouds that Xiao Chen's state of thunder brought, leaving not a trace behind. Xiao Chen's connection to the state of thunder was completely severed. Xiao Chen was greatly astonished. He tried a few times but discovered that he could not connect to his state of thunder. Under the cover of the night, he had completely severed his connection to the outside world. This is the effect of a consummation mysterious phenomenon. It can form something like a barrier. Xiao Chen's state of thunder has been cut off. I did not expect Morong Chong to have comprehended his mysterious phenomenon to consummation. This is something that several martial kings are unable to do. Indeed, the mysterious phenomenon has little to do with cultivation. It relies entirely on one's talent and comprehension ability. After losing the state of thunder, Xiao Chen's situation is worrying. The knowledgeable people in the spectator stands all sighed. Morong Chong comprehended the mysterious phenomenon of consummation. Such a martial king could be said to be an unrivaled existence. Fighting against those of a higher cultivation realm, killing a regular inferior grade martial king would be as easy as killing a dog. Lu Ryue's heart was in her mouth. Morong Chong was much stronger than she had imagined. Even she would have a headache dealing with this move. When Xiao Chen saw the scarlet full moon rising higher and Morong Chong, who was illuminated by the scarlet light of the full moon, his heart slowly calmed down. Chapter 295. If he had thought of a way to break the two scarlet saber chi earlier, he would not be in such a situation. Unfortunately, he was not decisive enough at that time. He did not want to exhaust too much essence in one go. Xiao Chen blamed himself in his heart. However, this was not the time for regrets. He was far from the final step. His confidence could not be shaken. Since he could not use the state of thunder, the might of the Wukue saber technique would be significantly reduced. If he could not use it to break this situation, then there was no need to mention the Lingyun saber technique. He could only think of another way. I got it. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought of a way to break this situation. Since he could not use his state, then he would use his strongest mysterious phenomenon to clash with it. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's frown slowly relaxed. He shouted and the snow-white lunar shadow saber in his hand suddenly gave off a glass-like glow. Flight on wings, moon bright like fire. A golden full moon slowly rose up behind Xiao Chen, matching the scarlet moon in the sky. The faint golden moonlight sprinkled down a gentle light that shone on the ground, forming a sharp contrast with the bright and glistening blood moon. What's going on? A full moon appeared behind Xiao Chen as well, someone in the spectator stands exclaimed. What is he trying to do? His mysterious phenomenon has clearly not reached consummation. If he uses it to clash with Morong Chong, he will definitely be at a disadvantage, Lu Suifeng said anxiously. Looking at the rising full moon, Lu Ryue suddenly understood Xiao Chen's intentions. The worry on her face lessened. At least this peerless lunar shadow would not pose a fatal threat to Xiao Chen. The golden full moon was as bright as fire in the sky. A resolute expression flashed on Xiao Chen's face. He shouted and the full moon headed straight for Morong Chong. What is he trying to do? Clashing with his mysterious phenomenon? This is too crazy. Doing this will harm the enemy and himself. In such a situation, there is actually no other choice. What Yi Chen is doing is the only way to break Morong Chong's mysterious phenomenon. When the people below saw Xiao Chen controlling the bright moon and sending it crashing into the full moon behind Murong Chong, they were all astonished. Murong Chong's face, which had been calm all this while, also revealed faint shock. Then, he smiled coldly and said, "Since you want to fight, I will fulfill your wish." Xiao Chen shouted, and the scarlet full moon gave off a resplendent red light. It carried a boundless killing chi as it flew towards the golden moon controlled by Xiao Chen without hesitation. The golden yellow and blood-red moons streaked across the sky, causing ripples to appear in space wherever they passed, as if they were about to shatter. Bang! The two moons clashed violently in the sky, creating a loud explosion. The entire arena on the heaven-ascending platform started to shake. The spectators, who were sitting far away, also started to shake. The ground kept shaking, as if it was going to split open. It made people feel fear for no reason. Too strong. This is comparable to a battle between martial kings, a disciple in the distance said. Xiao! The two full moons shattered at the same time. The pitch-black space immediately shattered into pieces. The sunlight that had not shone for a long time impatiently shone down from the sky. At first, there was only one strand. Then, there were 2 strands, 3 strands. Suddenly, the light spread out rapidly. The sky above the arena turned bright once more. The complexions of Xiao Chen and Murong Chong were somewhat pale. This was a clash of mysterious phenomena that were of equal strength. This was a significant blow to both sides. However, Murong Chong was in a slightly better state than Xiao Chen. Although his mysterious phenomenon was of equal strength to Xiao Chen's, it had already reached consummation, after all. It was still slightly stronger. After resting for a moment, Murong Chong shouted and raised his saber. Then, he turned into a cool breeze and charged over again. However, there was no killing chi on his body, not even a trace of killing intent. Finally, his figure strangely vanished from everyone's sight. Was it the clear wind chop again? Xiao Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and revealed a cold smile. Murong Chong had not practiced the clear wind chop to consummation. He had only perfectly merged the great perfection clear wind chop with the state of wind. That was how he managed to achieve such an effect. This move was Murong Chong's signature move. This was the first time Xiao Chen had encountered it. Even so, he was at a loss as to what to do. However, after Xiao Chen perfectly merged the state of thunder with the saber technique, he no longer had a headache dealing with this move. Wukui transforms to Qi. Xiao Chen shouted and an ancient divine tree appeared from nowhere. It turned into strands of purple saber Qi dancing around in the air. Rumble. The thunderclouds above Xiao Chen's head gathered again, churning continuously. The state of thunder and saber technique merged perfectly. As Xiao Chen made his move, thunder roared in the sky. Murong Chong, who was hidden in the cool breeze, frowned when he saw the purple saber Qi filling the sky. These saber Qi infused with the state of thunder could already injure Murong Chong, who was hidden in the wind. With such a large area, he would not be able to approach safely. Xiao Chen extended out his spiritual sense and scanned the area continuously. Finally, he felt an unusual fluctuation in the direction of 8 o'clock. Qi breaks Wukui. Without any hesitation, the instant Xiao Chen discovered that blurry figure, he immediately executed the third move of the Wukui saber technique. Thunder roared in the sky. The countless strands of purple saber Qi in the air merged into an incomparably resplendent saber Qi the instant the thunder roared. Then, it flew towards the place where Xiao Chen sensed it. The instant the thunder roared, Murong Chong felt a trace of danger. However, just as he was about to make a move, he discovered that the resplendent saber Qi was already before him as the thunder roared. The speed of that saber Qi actually surpassed the speed of sound in that instant. Regardless of whether he moved to the left or right, he would not be able to dodge it. Flickering light passing shadow. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Murong Chong's figure suddenly appeared. A bright light exploded in Xiao Chen's vision. The light was so dazzling that it hurt his eyes. Oh no, it's flickering light passing shadow. Quickly close your eyes. Under the illumination of this dazzling light, some of the cultivators in the spectator stands who were stunned by the sudden appearance of this light felt a stinging pain in their eyes. They were temporarily blinded. Instantly, there were many miserable cries. Some of the smarter cultivators had already closed their eyes and dodged this calamity. Pu-ci. The resplendent saber chi formed by the chi breaks Wukue crashed into the light with a loud boom. The light scattered. Morong Chang's figure split into 9. Each of his figures flickered with a white light. The white light merged together, dazzling everyone's eyes. It was hard to tell which was the real one. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations, clear wind chop. Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and his figure wavered. He turned into 9 cool breezes. Each breeze carried a figure as they charged at Morong Chang's figure. Dang! 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 A chaotic battle immediately broke out in the arena. 18 figures fought in this manner on the arena. The sounds of sabers clashing mixed with the light and shadows. It was too much for the spectators to keep up, making them feel dizzy. Logically speaking, Xiao Chen's martial technique, which merged the roaming dragon's 9 transformations and the clear wind chop, should be stronger than Morong Chang's flickering light passing shadow. Unfortunately, Morong Chang was very familiar with the clear wind chop. The hidden killing intent was ineffective against him. Furthermore, this was the first time Xiao Chen came into contact with the flickering light passing shadow. Under the situation where his vision was affected, he was at a disadvantage. I can't go on like this. I have to use a killing move, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Wukui blossoms. Xiao Chen shouted, and suddenly, a purple light flowed out from the feet of the 9 figures. 9 flower buds appeared on the ground and wrapped around Xiao Chen's figure. When Morong Chang's saber struck the flower buds, it did not cause any ripples. It could not stop the flower buds from growing. Flickering light passing shadow, 9 figures combined chop. With a hu-lot sound, the 9 figures that Morong Chang had turned into merged together, flickering with layers of white light. They turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. In the instant Morong Chang's 9 figures merged, the 9 flower buds on the ground also merged together. Boom! The instant the flower buds merged, they suddenly bloomed. Purple petals filled the air. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and passed through the petals, rushing towards Morong Chang, who had turned into a beam of light. Beams of purple light landed on Xiao Chen's body from the petals, instantly increasing his speed to Mach 2. The purple figure and the white figure both tore through the air, leaving behind long shockwaves. They instantly crossed each other among the petals. Pu-ci. In the instant they crossed each other, the 2 of them each sent out a saber strike at lightning speed. After that, their figures continued rushing forward. After Morong Chang stabilized himself, he looked at the blood spurting out of his chest. There was a look of disbelief on his stern face. How can he be faster than me? In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen's saber had stabbed into his chest. However, the tip of his saber had only pierced the afterimage that Xiao Chen left behind. The petals that filled the air quickly poured into the wound on Morong Chang's chest. Dang! 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 Morong Chang brought out his state of wind to its limits. Saber lights flickered and chopped the petals flying at him into nothing. Only less than 10 petals flew in. Xiao Chen frowned. Only 10 petals flew in. Given this, the might of Wukue supporting the heavens would be significantly weakened. The tree supporting the heavens would not be able to grow. However, the arrow had to be fired. If Xiao Chen hesitated and Morong Chang forced out these 9 petals, everything would be for naught. Xiao Chen shouted, "Wukue supporting the heavens, explode!" The churning thunderclouds above immediately gave off a loud sound. The instant the thunder roared, an explosion came from Morong Chang's chest. The wound on Morong Chang's chest suddenly exploded. His body was flung to the ground by the shockwave. How can this be? Morong Chang was actually blasted away. From the start of the duel until now, not only did Xiao Chen, who was not favored by the crowd, not crumble, he had also persisted for a long time. Xiao Chen had persisted for such a long time and did not fall into too much of a disadvantage. Now, he even blasted Murong Chong into the air. This was too unexpected. Wukuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen's aura flourished. Taking advantage of Murong Chong's weakened momentum, he leaped into the air and executed the other killing move of the Wukuei saber technique. The divine Wukuei tree descended from the air. It was like a mountain pressing down on Murong Chong, who was on the ground. However, just at this moment, layers of white clouds appeared in the sky. They occupied half the sky, reducing the thunderclouds formed by Xiao Chen's state of thunder by half. Chapter 296. The state of thunder contained in the Wukuei shakes the heavens immediately weakened, its might weakened significantly. When Murong Chong, who was on the ground, saw the Wukuei tree and Xiao Chen descend from the sky, he revealed a cold and emotionless smile. Xiao Chen was startled. He thought to himself, oh no. Murong Chong actually cultivated two states, wind and cloud merging, the clouds borrowing the might of the wind. Xiao Chen's state of thunder was completely suppressed. Murong Chong slowly stood up from the ground. A purple bolt of lightning appeared above the clouds, tearing through the dark arena. Who? A gust of wind suddenly rose, and with a swoosh, the lightning fused with it, forming a terrifying purple tornado. Murong Chong pointed his saber and the purple tornado immediately headed for Xiao Chen and the divine Wukuei tree. Bang! 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 The berserk purple tornado merged the energy of wind and lightning. It had the attribute of lightning and the berserk of wind. Its might was equal to a superior grade earth-ranked martial technique. When the tornado struck the Wukuei tree, the two martial techniques that contained electricity radiated horrifying electricity. Silver snakes danced in the air, and the air was filled with electricity the size of small snakes. Murong Chong struck the Wukuei tree a total of 5 times. Every time he struck, there would be a loud crackling sound. The color of Xiao Chen's divine Wukuei tree dimmed significantly. After the 5th strike, the divine Wukuei tree that Xiao Chen materialized completely disappeared. Without the obstruction of the Wukuei tree, the horrifying purple tornado headed for Xiao Chen with a berserk aura. Retreat! With the state of thunder suppressed, Xiao Chen did not dare to clash head-on. He could only dodge first and activate the windwalk shoes. His speed reached the speed of sound as he retreated. Hu Qi! Murong Chong's figure suddenly appeared beside the purple tornado. He moved erratically, he had the berserk nature of the wind and the ethereal nature of the clouds. When the two were combined, it was hard to catch him. Dang! A saber light hacked at Xiao Chen from a strange angle. Xiao Chen swung his saber to block. A berserk energy came from above and immediately shattered the state of thunder contained in the saber technique. Retreat again. Using this energy, Xiao Chen retreated again. His right hand, which held his saber, felt numb, he nearly lost his grip on his saber. As Xiao Chen retreated continuously, the thunderclouds in the sky were suppressed by his opponent's state of wind and cloud. Murong Chong's aura flourished, turning the situation around in an instant. Give up. Although your state of thunder is pure, it has no chance against my state of wind. Murong Chong's voice rang out in the air, following Murong Chong's erratic figure. It came from all directions, making it hard to tell where it came from. His voice lingered in the wind for a long time. Murong Chong is indeed Murong Chong. He actually hid himself so deeply. Aside from the great perfection state of wind, he also has the great perfection state of cloud. Most importantly, he merged them so perfectly. He truly lives up to his reputation as the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list. Yi Chen's state of thunder state. Yi Chen's state thunder state. Is. Yi has Chen. Chen Chen's heaven. Has. Looks like Murong Chong's undefeatable legend will continue for a while. Among the younger generation, at least in the Shihe province, there is no one who can defeat him. In the entire Great Qin nation, he can be ranked in the top 3. The situation was clear. Murong Chong, who had executed his state of cloud, had completely turned the situation around. The advantage that Xiao Chen had just gained was gone. He could only passively be suppressed. Everyone believed that when Xiao Chen's state of thunder was compressed to the point where it completely disappeared, it would be the moment of his defeat. A desolate expression flashed on Lu Ruyue's face. She was no longer worried about whether Xiao Chen could protect Qingyun Peak or not. She only hoped that he could survive. Furthermore, she did not want him to lose the sharpness of a cultivator, especially the sharpness of a bladesman. This was what she was most worried about. Even in such a situation, Xiao Chen's heart was still very calm. It was like there was a strange feeling in his heart. The surrounding discussions and Murong Chang's words did not affect him at all. Xiao Chen's mind was very clear. He continued to think of a way to break out of the situation. The reason why he was in such a passive state was undoubtedly because his state was suppressed. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Although he knew that states were important, he did not expect them to be this important. Without the support of a strong state, the Wukuei shakes the heavens could not even compare to his opponent's purple tornado. At this moment, even if Xiao Chen executed the sure-kill martial technique of the Wukuei saber technique, it would be hard for him to achieve the might he expected. Without the support of a state, it would be hard for him to advance. In the past 7 days, Xiao Chen had put the cart before the horse. He should not have spent too much time practicing new martial techniques. Instead, he should have strengthened his own state. Xiao Chen's state was not strong by itself. However, because he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, his state was much purer than a regular cultivator's. His peak small perfection state could suppress his opponent's great perfection state. From the start of the duel, Xiao Chen was able to hold his own against Murong Chong, whose cultivation was much higher than his. This was mainly because of this. However, it was not too late to realize this. Even if he lost today, he had already gained a lot. His future would be much clearer. Bang! Bang! While Xiao Chen was thinking, his hands did not stop moving. He extended his spiritual sense and did his best to capture the erratic Murong Chang's figure, blocking all the saber techniques he sent at him. In the sky, Xiao Chen's state of thunder had already been pushed to the final step. Only a patch of thunderclouds remained bitterly holding on. The surroundings were filled with churning white clouds infused with the state of wind. The white clouds churned boundlessly, raising Murong Chang's aura to its peak. Murong Chang looked at Xiao Chen, who had already retreated to a corner. He said indifferently, "Let's end this." 3 moves of wind and cloud, chasing clouds and chasing lightning. Murong Chang roared ferociously. The horrifying purple tornado turned into a flood dragon about 100 meters long. The dense dragon scales on the body of the flood dragon were clearly visible. It was like a real flood dragon. White clouds floated around the flood dragon. With a schwa sound, it emerged from the clouds. It opened its mouth and spat out a strand of azure smoke. Then, it roared at Xiao Chen. The berserk flood dragon's speed had already surpassed the speed of sound. It was very close to Mach 2. It did not give Xiao Chen any time to think before it arrived before him. When the people in the arena saw the roaring flood dragon flying at Xiao Chen, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Ruyue could not help but stand up from her seat. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Bang! 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 The instant the flood dragon swallowed up Xiao Chen, there was an intense explosion. A blue dragon circled around Xiao Chen's right arm. Although the blue dragon was small, it was the martial spirit of an ancient holy beast. It was the real deal. No matter how realistic the small flood dragon was, it was just a fake dragon. How could it be a match for a real dragon? The blue dragon immediately broke it apart and exploded into a shockwave. After the blue dragon broke apart the chasing clouds and chasing lightning, it had not used up all the energy it contained. It opened its mouth and let out a resounding dragon roar. The might of a holy beast spread throughout the entire arena. All the cultivators in the spectator stands felt their hearts tremble. This dragon roar actually contained the might of a holy emperor. Morong Chong frowned and condensed a berserk wind wall to block in front of him. He wanted to block this attack. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in the 300-odd acupoints of his body was Xiao Chen's true trump card. However, Xiao Chen would not use this trump card unless he had no other choice. The blue dragon martial spirit had disappeared for 1,000 years. It was a mysterious existence. If the identity of the blue dragon martial spirit was made known, it might cause some unnecessary waves. However, Morong Chong's earlier move was too dangerous. Xiao Chen, whose state was suppressed, had no other way to block or dodge. There was no other way to block it, nor was there any way to avoid it. He could only take out this trump card. Otherwise, he might die from this move. In the sky, the surging white clouds that had been suppressing Xiao Chen's state of thunder unexpectedly started to shrink back. The holy might contained in the dragon roar actually forced back Morong Chong's state. Bang! 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 The blue dragon broke through the wind wall that Morong Chong laid and gave off a piercing screech. Seeing that the wind wall could not block the blue dragon, Morong Chong made a prompt decision and quickly retreated. Morong Chong's figure flickered in the air. With every step he took, he laid down a wall of wind. The blue dragon seemed to have a life of its own as it chased after him, not letting up. The blue dragon chased for more than a kilometer before it ran out of energy and turned into nothingness, disappearing into the air. The azure dragon actually contains a holy might. What is going on? Could it be that his martial spirit is also inherited from the ancient era? After Morong Chong landed, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, he was filled with doubts. Rumble. Just at this moment, the muffled thunder that had lingered in the arena for a long time resounded again. Xiao Chen's state of thunder reached its peak once again. Morong Chong's expression changed. He saw that the originally small patch of thunderclouds in the sky was now standing on equal footing with his white clouds. They each stood on one side of the arena, not giving way at all. This was the final decisive moment. Xiao Chen did not want to give his opponent another chance to force back his state. Wukue breaks the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted and a loud clap of thunder resounded. The ancient divine Wukue tree above Xiao Chen's head grew rapidly as the thunder roared. The instant the divine Wukue tree finished growing, a resplendent saber pillar soared up from the saber. It soared into the sky and quickly elongated. It was like it was going to break the sky and shatter the ground. Damn it! Morong Chong's expression turned sullen. He had not expected Xiao Chen to turn the situation where he was bound to lose into such a draw. However, there was no time for Morong Chong to think. That resplendent pillar of light contained the horrifying state of thunder quickly headed for him. 3 moves of wind and cloud, parting clouds revealing the sky. Morong Chong roared ferociously. His long hair and clothes fluttered, and a strong wind blew around him. The white clouds in the sky drifted. A resplendent pillar of light lit up on the saber as well. It carried the state of wind and cloud as it clashed with Xiao Chen's Wukue breaks the heavens. 2 pillars of light, one white and one purple, quickly pulled apart. After a while, they crashed into each other. Bang! When the 2 pillars of light clashed, a huge whirlpool of primal chaos appeared on the ground. It immediately blasted a large hole in the ground. A large amount of dust flew into the air from the hole. A visible shockwave spread out in all directions, blowing away all the dust on the arena. Chapter 297. The ground of the entire arena cracked. Countless huge chunks of mud flew through the air, kicking up a cloud of dust. The ground was shaved off by more than 10 meters. It was clear how horrifying the might of these 2 moves was. Seeing the shockwave coming at him, Xiao Chen shouted and stabbed out with his saber. He immediately broke through the surging shockwave. His spiritual sense locked onto Morong Chong's figure and he quickly rushed over. The huge rocks and mud in front of him were all chopped apart by his saber. They could not stop Xiao Chen at all. Murong Chang's expression turned sullen. He sent out a few strands of vigorous saber chi, shattering the shockwave and rocks. Then, he sensed Xiao Chen's figure in the wind. Murong Chang snorted coldly and pushed off the ground heavily, leaping over. Xiao! Amidst the dust and howling wind, the two of them saw each other at the same time. They leaped into the air and their killing chi clashed in the air. They did not hesitate to attack. Dang! 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 The entire arena was filled with lingering electricity and wind and clouds. There were also huge chunks of mud flying in the air and dust covering the sky. It was very chaotic. All the spectators on the heaven ascending platform stood up and used their vision, trying to see the situation below the arena clearly. Why can't I see anything? What happened to the two of them? I can only hear their voices. I can see a little more clearly. However, the two of them are too fast. I can only see two blurry figures. There is too much dust. Furthermore, the electricity and strong wind are interfering with my vision. However, the two of them are fighting very intensely. They are going crazy. Even though they used their vision, there were still many cultivators with insufficient cultivation who could not see the situation clearly. Only a small portion of the core disciples with deep cultivations could vaguely make out the two's figures. However, they could not completely understand. Aside from the people from the Elders' Assembly, only Lu Ruyue could see the situation clearly. Sis, what's the situation? Lu Suifeng asked anxiously beside Lu Ruyue. Lu Ruyue had a complicated expression. Her normally resolute eyes were now filled with pain and conflict. She said in a trembling voice, "They are crazy. How could it be like this?" Dust flew everywhere, lightning flashed, and strong winds howled in the arena. Murong Chong and Xiao Chen were covered in blood. Not a single part of their clothes was intact. The two of them moved around on the ground. Their speeds were similar. It was very difficult to dodge each other's attacks and injure each other. Basically, if you injure me, I can immediately stab you back. At this moment, both of them were in a killing frenzy. They did not care about the wounds on their bodies as they circulated their vital energy to the extreme. You are more ruthless than me, I am more ruthless than you. It all depends on who can last longer. Both sides had their own advantages. Xiao Chen's advantage was his strong physical body. His physical endurance was stronger than Murong Chang's. Murong Chong. Xiao Chen of Xiao Chen's was his cultivation. Murong Chen of energy. Qi. Of Chen then of them. Of them of they of them. Of. Was. Pu ci. A bolt of lightning descended and turned a flying piece of mud into dust. Xiao Chen's saber strike infused with the state of thunder clashed with Murong Chang's saber strike infused with the state of strong wind and cloud. When the sabers clashed, there was a piercing metallic sound in the air. When the two states clashed, an intense shockwave burst forth. All the dust within 100 meters was instantly cleared. The two of them each retreated 100 meters. Blood dripped from the snow-white sabers. "Di-ta! Di-ta!" Murong Chong said coldly, determined victory with one saber strike. "Sure." Xiao Chen replied indifferently as he tightened his grip on the saber hilt. The blood on the saber hilt was connected to his palm. It was like the saber was a part of his flesh. After fighting for so long, the two of them understood that if this continued, there would be no result. Determining victory with one move was the best way to resolve this stalemate. Right after Murong Chong spoke, a strong wind immediately gathered behind him. In an instant, all the dust, dirt, and electricity scattered in all directions were expelled. Only the purest state of wind remained. Clouds churned in the sky, moving continuously and quickly. The sky changed color as the wind blew and the clouds churned. Murong Chang's aura soared rapidly. The state of kingship emanated from his body. Even though there was only a trace of this king's will, it was filled with an unparalleled might, and it spread to the surrounding spectator stands. Everyone could feel this king's aura, and they felt a faint desire to worship it. Xiao Chen was mildly startled. Morong Chong had actually skipped the comprehension of states and touched upon something above states. Furthermore, it was an extremely high-grade will of kingship. Since you are suppressing me with the might of a king, I will use the might of a deity to suppress you, Xiao Chen thought to himself with a calm expression. The thunderclouds in the sky started to gather continuously. Finally, they formed a huge whirlpool of thunderclouds. The whirlpool was 300 meters tall. Every time the whirlpool spun, there would be a boundless amount of lightning-attributed spiritual energy infused into it. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky and hovered above the arena. A supreme divine might spread out from it. Dong! 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 The roars of a huge army came from the whirlpool. When these sounds merged together, they formed a resplendent electric light. A knight flickering with golden electricity appeared from the whirlpool, holding a golden spear in his hand. This was the modified rushing thunder roar. It merged all the lightning knights together and infused a trace of the might of a deity into it, forming a true single-target martial technique. The golden spear pointed at Morong Chong, who was on the ground. A thunder god's might spread out, heading for Morong Chong, whose state of kingship had reached its peak. The two formless auras clashed in the air. They intertwined, creating ripples in the air. Rushing thunder roar. All-powerful. The two of them shouted at the same time. The golden lightning knight lowered its spear and rode on a golden warhorse that chased after the clouds and lightning. It carried a trace of divine might as it pierced through space, heading for Morong Chong. The strong wind behind Morong Chong stopped, and the clouds above him stopped churning. The world was silent. Only the all-powerful saber strike that could break through the 9 heavens flew out. The resplendent saber light soared into the sky, colliding fiercely with the golden lightning knight. It was a saber chi that contained the will of a king. It was an indomitable aura that looked down on the world, causing even the world to be moved. However, Xiao Chen's golden lightning knight contained the might of a deity. This strand of the might of a deity was something that Xiao Chen imitated from the divine might left by the sages in the silver warship. Although it was not the true divine might, it could easily defeat the trace of the will of a king that Morong Chong had just comprehended. How could a king among men defeat a divine sovereign? Unless Morong Chong comprehended the will of a divine sovereign, there was no chance of victory. The golden lightning knight brandished its spear and dazzling golden lightning gathered behind it. It gathered into a spear light that shot out in all directions and clashed violently with Morong Chong's saber chi containing the will of a king. Bang! 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 The air suddenly exploded as the two wills clashed fiercely in the air. Intense explosions rang out, and in the calm air, it was like waves had exploded, causing the entire space to become blurry. Xiao! The golden knight's spear pierced through Morong Chong's saber chi with a shwat sound. Then, he rode on his golden warhorse and descended from the sky, leaving behind a golden beam of light. Morong Chong's grave and stern face appeared slightly distracted. Just as the tip of the spear was about to press against his chest, he spun his saber and blocked the tip of the golden spear with its thin blade. Boom! Under Xiao Chen's control, the knight exploded. The horrifying force gathered at the tip of the spear, causing Morong Chong to vomit a mouthful of blood and fly back. Xiao Chen felt dizzy. Aside from exhausting a large amount of essence, this move also exhausted the source of his spiritual sense. Simulating a divine might had nearly exhausted his spiritual sense. Xiao Chen pressed the tip of his tongue against his teeth and bit down hard. There was an intense pain, and the dizziness in his head improved slightly. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. Then, he stabbed his saber at Morong Chong's chest. Morong Chong fell from the air. Aside from being injured by the lightning, his mind was also suppressed by the divine might. He had lost all ability to resist. Xiao Chen flicked his wrist and deflected the saber that was originally aimed at Morong Chong's heart by 5 centimeters. Morong Chong fell from the air. The pain in his chest allowed him to recover his mind. At this moment, his hair was messy and the blood at the corner of his lips had not been wiped clean. There were wounds all over his body. The two of them had exhausted their states. The wind no longer howled, the clouds no longer churned, the lightning disappeared, and the dust settled. At this moment, it was very quiet, only the sound of their blood dripping to the ground could be heard. Murong Chong was actually defeated by Xiao Chen. How can this be? The piercing sunlight shone down from the 9 heavens. When the spectators saw the scene in the arena, they were all incomparably astonished. Xiao Chen, whom no one thought highly of, actually defeated the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list, Murong Chong. Seeing the expressionless Xiao Chen, who was not much better off, Murong Chong revealed a bitter smile on his stern face. He muttered, "Why did you not kill me? I do not have any grudges with you. You also saved my life once. We are even," Xiao Chen said calmly. Suddenly, anger appeared on Murong Chong's stern face. He said, "Your heart is not with Qingyun Peak. Why did you snatch my things?" Xiao Chen's expression was calm, there were no fluctuations. He said indifferently, "Are you sure that is yours? The things in this world are not yours just because you think they are. Only when you obtain them can you be considered to have them." Ka Xie. After he spoke, Xiao Chen withdrew his saber and sheathed it. Blood immediately spurted out of Murong Chong's chest. His body swayed as he fell over. Finally, he knelt on one knee and stabbed his saber into the ground, doing his best to maintain his balance. Murong Chong has failed the challenge. The position of Qingyun Peak's peak master will not change. After Murong Chong fell over, the old man from earlier reappeared and announced the result. The moment the old man spoke, a group of Jade Maiden Peak disciples immediately came out and carried Xiao Chen and Murong Chong away, helping them to treat their injuries. The dense crowd of spectators discussed this matter. There were several people who could not accept the result, they did not dare believe that Murong Chong would be defeated. Chapter 298. In the distance, Mu Chen and Zhang Lai looked at the defeated Murong Chong. Their eyes were filled with desolation. Zhang Lai smiled bitterly, "I originally thought that after a month of hard work, I would be able to catch up to him. Who knew, I would be getting further and further away from him. Now, even Murong Chong is not a match for him." Mu Chen got up and smiled faintly, "Don't overthink this. His potential is different from ours. His future accomplishments will be different as well. However, with such a person as our target, we will be able to raise our strength much faster. That's right, the higher his talent, the more pressure we will face. As long as I don't slack off and lose confidence, my strength will improve much faster than before." The desolation in Zhang Lai's eyes disappeared in an instant. Replacing it was an incomparably resolute expression filled with confidence. If you set a person with 100 points of potential and a person with 50 points as your target, the final result would be very different. Hence, the two of them were very glad that their opponent, Xiao Chen, was the person with 100 points of potential. Lu Ruyue looked at the two people being carried away by the Jade Maiden Peak disciples for treatment. She revealed a faint smile on her charming face, this might be the best ending. 3 days later, in an independent courtyard on Jade Maiden Peak, Xiao Chen lay quietly on a reclining chair in the courtyard. There was an incense burner on the stone table beside him. Smoke curled up into the air and a faint medicinal fragrance wafted through the courtyard. It was refreshing and comfortable, one's body could not help but relax. The injuries Xiao Chen suffered in his fight with Murong Chong were more severe than Xiao Chen had imagined. Those saber wounds contained the state of wind and the state of cloud. This made it very difficult for them to heal. Furthermore, some of his meridians were injured. The most serious was the internal injuries from the clash of the mysterious phenomena. At that time, Xiao Chen and Lu Ruyue suppressed their internal injuries. After the fight ended, they erupted 100-fold. With the internal and external injuries, it would have been impossible for Xiao Chen to recover completely without a month. However, in Jade Maiden Peak, he received the best care. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion elders generously provided him with all sorts of spirit pills and miraculous medicines. There was even a Jade Maiden Peak elder who possessed a self-healing martial spirit. She personally circulated her energy and helped Xiaochen clear his meridians and nourish his internal organs. In just 3 days, his injuries would be mostly healed, and in another 4 days, his body would be able to completely recover to its peak state. All of this was because of the strength that Xiaochen displayed. He had attracted the attention of the upper echelons of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Although Xiaochen was strong in the past, he was only a medial-grade martial saint. There were many people in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who reached medial-grade martial saint at his age. There would be even more in the Great Qin Empire. However, the combat prowess that Xiaochen displayed and the horrifying state of thunder made everyone look at him in a new light. He was not a simple medial-grade martial saint. Any sect would take good care of their own geniuses, and all kinds of advantageous resources would be tilted towards their geniuses. Naturally, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was no exception. It was not strange that they took such care of Xiaochen. As Xiaochen slept on the recliner, he looked at the clear sky above him and breathed in the fragrant air. His body and mind felt more comfortable. This was actually a special treatment method of Jade Maiden Peak. The recliner was not made of ordinary wood. Instead, it was made of 1,000-year-old spiritual wood. In other words, if one took this recliner and tore it into pieces, they could sell it for 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. As long as a person laid on it, the 1,000-year-old spiritual energy contained in it would automatically seep through the skin and into the flesh, bones, and marrow, circulating and nourishing the various organs of the cultivator. Furthermore, the incense and powder in the incense burner were made from spirit herbs picked from Jade Maiden Peak. According to Xiaochen's request, it was used to replenish the source of his spiritual sense. Such a relaxed treatment method caused Xiaochen to feel an unprecedented peace. Since he arrived at Qingyun Peak, he had not been able to relax for even a moment. Now, he was completely at peace. For the past 3 days, Xiaochen did not think or do anything. He just lay there quietly. He discovered that his mental state had improved by another step. Ha ha! Little brother Yichen, are you resting? Just as Xiaochen was deep in thought with his eyes closed, a drawn-out laughter came from outside the courtyard. Xiaochen quickly opened his eyes and stood up to greet Elder Tang. Elder Tang was a member of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Elders Assembly. His cultivation had already reached peak Martial King. Furthermore, his potential had not been exhausted yet. Once he reached the right opportunity, he could advance to Martial Monarch at any time. He could be said to be a true peak expert. Even 100 Xiaochen would not be a match for him. There were only 9 elders in the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the Pavilion Master, the authority of these elders was astonishing. All the important decisions of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had to go through the approval of the Elders' Assembly before they could be made. On the first day Xiaochen was injured, Elder Tang came to look for Xiaochen. However, his purpose in looking for Xiaochen made things difficult for him. The other party was interested in Xiaochen's talent and promised him all sorts of benefits. He wanted to take Xiaochen in as a disciple. Xiaochen had already tactfully rejected him once. This time, his purpose should be the same. When Elder Tang saw Xiaochen stand up, he waved his hand and used a gentle force to get Xiaochen to lie back down. He chuckled and said, "Little brother Yichen, you are injured, there is no need to be so polite. How is it? Have you considered the matter that I mentioned to you back then?" When Xiaochen heard this, he smiled bitterly in his heart. It looked like his tactful rejection back then was taken as consideration by the other party. Otherwise, the other party might be feigning ignorance. Without waiting for Xiaochen to reply, Elder Tang continued, "Actually, you should really consider this seriously. For so many years, I have not taken in a personal disciple. Once you become my disciple and I become a supreme elder in the future, I will not accept you. My position as an elder will be yours. The cultivation resources that an elder can enjoy are much more than you can imagine. There are medial-grade spirit stones, medicinal pills, and all sorts of secret techniques. There are also some martial techniques that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion does not teach to outsiders. You can learn them all. Xiao Chen replied. Elder Tang interrupted him and continued, I already know about the assassination attempt on your way back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, I warned Song Quebec. He will not dare to make a move against you again. The most important thing is that if you become an elder in the future, you can challenge Song K to a duel. Even if you accidentally kill him in the duel, there will not be any problems. This is the privilege of an elder. What do you think? This should be able to move you, right? I know what you are worried about. As long as you say the word, I can help you settle things with Lu Ruyue. Elder Tang spoke tirelessly, promising a lot of benefits. If Xiao Chen said he was not tempted, it would be a lie. However, these conditions were unable to move him. Xiao Chen said calmly, I'm sorry, Elder Tang. I am unable to agree. Haha, Ninth Elder is here to poach my disciple again. Just as Elder Tang was about to continue speaking, melodious laughter resounded in the courtyard. It was Lu Ruyue walking over leisurely. When Elder Tang saw Lu Ruyue, he could not help but feel embarrassed. No matter what, he was a senior. He had gone to poach a disciple of the younger generation and was even caught red-handed. He would feel embarrassed. Haha, little Ruyue must be joking. Why would I poach your disciple? I am only here to visit little friend Yi Chen. I will take my leave first. If little brother Yi has any difficulties in the future, you can come and look for me. Seeing that Lu Ruyue had arrived, Elder Tang laughed it off and immediately left. Xiao Chen immediately felt very relaxed. He looked at Lu Ruyue and smiled, fortunately, you came. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to advance or retreat. Lu Ruyue sighed in her heart. When she thought of her first meeting with Xiao Chen, she still found it funny. However, she had not misjudged him. He was someone who could restore Qingyun Peak's might. Lu Ruyue did not have any other purpose for coming here. She only wanted to visit Xiao Chen and see how his injuries were. At the same time, she wanted to chat with him to relieve his boredom. The two of them chatted for a long time in the courtyard. Most of their topics were about their understanding of the martial way. Now that their strengths were about the same, the master-disciple relationship was already very thin. It was more of a master-disciple relationship. The sky gradually turned dark. When dusk arrived, they stopped talking and Lu Ruyue took her leave. The next few days were rather peaceful. The people that Xiao Chen knew, Mu Chen, Zhang Lai, Lu Suifeng, and Chu Xinyun, all came to visit him. This made him feel a trace of warmth in his heart. On a night after 3 days, Xiao Chen's injuries had completely recovered. He had returned to his peak state. Furthermore, after the big battle with Morong Chong and a week of rest, Xiao Chen felt that although his cultivation did not improve by much, his combat prowess had increased significantly. This was the benefit of a true big battle. A genius would not have a good opponent. Without intense battles, they would never improve by leaps and bounds. Only in a big battle could one find their own weaknesses and inadequacies. Then, they could cultivate and make up for these weaknesses. Finally, they could use a big battle to test if their thoughts were correct or not. Such a virtuous cycle would allow one's strength to increase rapidly and steadily, truly reaching the peak. Thus, cultivators had to continuously set goals for themselves. Shaw! Shaw! Suddenly, the sound of footsteps entered Xiao Chen's ears in the dark night. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. His figure flashed and he immediately arrived in the courtyard. When Xiao Chen saw who it was, he revealed an astonished expression. Morong Chong. Morong Chong was dressed in black with a saber hanging at his waist. He slowly walked over to Xiao Chen in the dark night. Xiao Chen's expression returned to normal. He asked suspiciously, "What are you doing here? Do you want to fight with me again?" Morong Chong's grave and stern face did not reveal any expression. He said indifferently, "There is no need for now. You are right. There are some things that you cannot have unless you possess them. In the past, I was too stubborn. Now that I have thought things through, I have decided to leave this place. Xiao Chen was not surprised by Murong Chang's words. With his cultivation realm and cultivation, he had already reached a bottleneck in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With his potential, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would not be able to keep him. Leaving was just a matter of time. Xiao Chen let down his guard and his expression eased up. He asked, "Where are you preparing to go?" Chapter 299. Honestly speaking, Xiao Chen did not have any enmity towards Murong Chong. Although this person was not on good terms with him, he was decisive and straightforward. Xiao Chen admired such a character. "I don't know, let's leave the Great Qin nation first." In the Tianwu continent, aside from the Great Jin nation, the Great Qin nation is the weakest among the other four nations. If we limit our vision to the Great Qin nation, we will not be able to improve in the future. We have to go out. Leave the Great Qin nation. Xiao Chen thought so as well. After Emperor Wu's nation was destroyed, the spirit veins in the continent were in chaos. Aside from the Great Jin nation, the density of spiritual energy in the other four nations could not be compared to Emperor Wu's nation. It was even more incomparable to the ancient era. The sparseness of spiritual energy would cause a cultivator's cultivation speed to decrease. Even with the same talent, cultivating in a different environment would result in a world of difference in strength. Furthermore, among the four nations, the Great Qin nation had the sparsest spiritual energy. This was also the reason why the Great Qin nation only had 3 great sections. It was because there were too few good spirit veins. Sooner or later, Xiao Chen would have to leave as well. This world was so exciting and vast. If he did not go out and explore it, he would have many regrets in his life. It was said that outside the Tianwu continent, on the other side of the boundless sea, there were countless islands. Each island was the size of a nation. Furthermore, the spirit veins there were deep in the sea. They had not been broken since the ancient era. One could imagine how horrifying the geniuses there were. However, Xiao Chen still had many things to do in the Great Qin nation. He could not leave for now. At the very least, he had to comprehend listening to the sword and communicating with it before he could leave. Murong Chong said indifferently, "Don't think that just because you defeated me in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, you are the strongest in the younger generation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Could it be that Murong Chong is not the true #1 expert?" Xiao Chen asked doubtfully, "What do you mean?" Murong Chong said, "Since ancient times, the true experts of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion have always been in the Divine Saber Camp. Only by joining the Divine Saber Camp will the Heavenly Saber Pavilion pass down the true secret techniques to you." Xiao Chen had seen the strength of the Divine Saber Camp with his own eyes. Just one look from the other party was enough to make him tremble. The martial technique of killing was indeed horrifying. However, this was also because Xiao Chen had not comprehended a state at that time. If the current Xiao Chen were to face the experts of the Divine Saber Camp, even if he could not defeat them, he would not lose in terms of aura. Then why did you not join the Divine Saber Camp? With your talent, they should have already sent you an invitation, Xiao Chen said. Murong Chong's expression did not change. He said leisurely, 2 years ago, I received an invitation. However, I rejected it. You will understand the reason for my rejection when you receive the invitation. Aside from the people of the Divine Saber Camp, there is only one person worth paying attention to in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiao Chen's interest was piqued and he asked, "Who?" "Leng Liusu." Murong Chong replied indifferently, "The daughter of the previous pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Leng Liusu. There is a secret realm in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. There is the spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Only the descendants of the Saber Emperor can cultivate there after they advance to Martial Saint. Half a year ago, Leng Liusu already advanced to Martial Saint. Her talent is no weaker than ours. Furthermore, she has the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. Furthermore, with the help of the spirit veins origin, when she comes out, she will shock the entire Great Qin nation. Spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's secret realm. When Xiao Chen heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He thought of the strange space he encountered in the underground world. There was also the prayer mat in the tree hole. The secret realm that Murong Chong mentioned might be that place. Back then, he could not sit on it. So, aside from his insufficient cultivation, he also needed the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. At this moment, Xiao Chen finally understood. The spirit vein's origin was something that even the fiend race martial emperors wanted. It was easy to imagine how much faster one's cultivation speed would be if they could cultivate there. Goodbye. Although I know you will have to leave sooner or later, before that, please spread the name of Qingyun Peak. Murong Chong performed a cupped fist salute and said, I hope we will meet again in the future. Right after he spoke, Murong Chong's figure flashed in the dark night. He quickly merged into the darkness and disappeared from Xiao Chen's vision. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up in an arc. He smiled faintly and said, what an interesting person. After saying so much, the last sentence is probably the main point. You clearly can't let it go, so why are you pretending to be carefree? In the past 7 days, Xiao Chen had heard that Murong Chong's three-wind cloud style was created by him. Xiao Chen gained a deeper understanding of Murong Chong's strength. Murong Chong was not even 20 years old, yet he was able to combine his state and create his own martial technique. There were probably not many people with such talent since ancient times. Furthermore, Murong Chong gave Xiao Chen the feeling that this three-wind cloud style was not truly perfected yet. There should be at least 5 more moves after rebuking the wind and clouds. By the time Murong Chong perfected the remaining moves, it would be very difficult for Xiao Chen to defeat him again. In the future, even if Murong Chong did not truly reach the peak of the martial Tao, his name would be passed down to the future generations with this wind-cloud saber technique. No matter what, Murong Chong was one of the true bladesmen that Yun Kursen spoke of in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When the sky brightened, Xiao Chen greeted the people of Jade Maiden Peak. Then, he immediately left Jade Maiden Peak and rushed to Qingyun Peak. When Xiao Chen returned to the familiar Qingyun Peak, there were still very few people. Along the way, Xiao Chen thought of Murong Chong's words. He sighed, there are indeed too few people in Qingyun Peak. Before he left, he had to do his best to help Qingyun Peak regain its former illustrious reputation. Before Xiao Chen walked far, he saw a familiar white figure. It was by running towards him quickly. Behind it, Lu Ruyue, Lu Suifeng, and the Xiao siblings also slowly came down. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and carried by in his embrace. Then, he walked over to Lu Ruyue and the others. Xiao Meng laughed and said, Bai is still the best. We knew you were coming from afar. We did not know you would recover today. Lu Ruyue's complexion was getting better by the day. When Xiao Chen saw her again, she had already recovered her former graceful bearing. After suffering such a setback, when her injuries recovered, it would be her opportunity to become a martial king. Are your injuries completely healed? Lu Ruyue asked softly. Xiao Chen nodded gently. When Lu Suifeng saw the situation, he laughed loudly, Come, Yi Chen, let's go drink. Xiao Yang and Xiao Meng, let's go as well. Let's formally celebrate your defeat of Murong Chong. When Xiao Chen heard the word drink, Bai immediately became restless in Xiao Chen's embrace. She cried out continuously, indicating that she wanted to go as well. This caused everyone to laugh loudly. When Xiao Chen saw the smiles on everyone's faces, he felt a warmth in his heart. Although there were not many people in Qingyun Peak, it was impossible for the other peaks to have such a harmonious relationship. Even if he left Qingyun Peak in the future, he would remember the time he spent with everyone here. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. Very well, I will drink to my heart's content today, Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and smiled faintly. On a desolate peak in the Lingyun mountain range, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on a rock. Boundless thunderclouds churned in the sky above him. After everyone got drunk that day, Xiao Chen started to cultivate bitterly the next day. During his fight with Murong Chong, he realized that his state was insufficient. If the might of his state was insufficient, he would fall from grace and become an ordinary martial saint. the might of all his moves would decrease. Thus, for the past half a month, he had been thinking of ways to strengthen his state, trying to make up for his shortcomings. Because he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, Xiao Chen's state of thunder was much purer than a regular cultivator's state. Needless to say, its might was much stronger. Similarly, a small perfection state was nothing in front of Xiao Chen's state of thunder. He could easily suppress it. This was also why he could use his small perfection state to contend against Murong Chang's great perfection state. All of this was because of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, which was comparable to a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Similarly, it also made it harder for Xiao Chen to advance his state to great perfection. At first, he had to raise the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the 5th layer before he could break through. As long as he succeeded in breaking through, his great perfection state of thunder would be comparable to the peak great perfection state of others. This was the benefit of having a large base. Since he could not break through to great perfection state for now, Xiao Chen had to think of other methods. Back when he fought with Murong Chong, the holy might of the Blue Dragon martial spirit immediately suppressed his opponent's state of wind and cloud. This gave Xiao Chen a lot of inspiration. If he infused the holy might into his state, then even if he did not break through to great perfection, its might would increase significantly. This was a good idea, but it was very difficult to execute. After working hard for half a month, the holy might of the Blue Dragon martial spirit could not be infused. Holy might could be considered an aura of an ancient holy beast. Just like how humans had auras, an ancient holy beast definitely had its own unique aura. Although Xiao Chen's control over his own aura had not reached the level of some powerhouses, who could turn their aura into a sharp saber with just a sharp look, it was not difficult to infuse it into saber techniques. However, it was not difficult to infuse it into saber techniques as he pleased. However, it was somewhat difficult to control the aura of the Blue Dragon martial spirit. In the past, before the martial spirit shattered, it was easier to do. He could just move it from the dantian. Now that the martial spirit was shattered, it resided in more than 300 acupoints in his body. He had only opened 13 of the 18 acupoints on his right arm. If he could truly use the aura of these 13 strands of dragon chi together, it would be simple to attack someone. He could just blast it out and there would be no need to worry about it. The problem was how to refine the dragon chi into the aura of the Blue Dragon and then infuse it into the state. Raising his head to look at the thunderclouds above, Xiao Chen slowly stretched out his right hand. With a thought, the Fengyan acupoint on his palm immediately exploded open. A strand of azure-colored dragon chi floated out. The Laogong acupoint opened, the Daling acupoint opened, the Neiguan acupoint opened, strands of azure-colored dragon chi flowed out. All 13 acupoints on Xiao Chen's right arm opened. Finally, all the dragon chi merged and formed a 10-meter-long blue dragon coiled around Xiao Chen's right arm. The dragon's body was covered in dragon scales. It looked very realistic. Aside from its lifeless eyes, this blue dragon could be said to be very realistic. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.